Good morning, everyone. It is 10 a.m., and I will call this Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. We will start with a salute to the flag. And Vice Chair Herman, could you lead us, please? Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We will now move to the roll call. Madam Clerk.
Alexis Hill, Chair.
Here.
Vice Chair Jean Herman. Mike Clark.
Present.
Mariluz Garcia is absent. Clara Andriola.
Present.
Assistant County Manager Dave Solero.
Here.
Chief Deputy DA Mary Canderas.
Here.
And I'm your County Clerk. Madam, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll now move to item 3, public comment. Mr. Solero.
Yeah, item 3 is your public comment. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the commission agenda. The commission will also hear public comment during individual action items with comment limited to 3 minutes per person, and comments are to be made to the commission as a whole.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk.
First up, we have Rod Dimmitt, followed by Terry Brooks.
Good morning, Commissioners. Hope you're having a great morning this morning. My name is Rod Dimmitt, and I've been a volunteer at the May Arboretum for the last 10 years. I've also been a member of the May Arboretum Society for the last 8 years. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but the May Arboretum Society is the nonprofit that's been supporting the May Arboretum since the late 1980s. Over the last 7 years, the Society has contributed about $1.2 million to the operation of the garden. Most of that's been in the form of labor, additional staffing, garden redos, and irrigation redos. The last 3 years, the May Arboretum Society has funded 2 FTEs to assist in taking care of the garden. What we are also funding is the education position that was started in June of last year. This year, the Society has opted to fund an additional FTE to help the education coordinator position to educate the public about what the May Arboretum has to offer. The Society, let's see, if you're not aware, the May Arboretum is the only ARBNet-rated arboretum in the state of Nevada. So ARBNet is the governing sanctioning body for gardens across the country administered by the Morton Registrar of Arboreta. And the May Arboretum is a level 2 garden out of a potential level 4. So your level 4 gardens are going to be like the Berkeley Botanic Garden, Denver Botanic Garden, all those big gardens out there. The May Arboretum is real close to being a level 3. So 2 of the requirements that it was missing was to have an education program going on, which is currently happening, and there were about 300 species of plants short to make that next step to a level 3. The accepted criteria for maintaining gardens is 1 person per acre. And so Washoe County currently is funding 2.75 FTEs year-round with 1.5 people seasonally to help take care of 13 acres. And this doesn't include the horticulturist position, which is funded by the May Foundation. So the purpose of my visit here today is to ask that as you're looking at budgets for this upcoming fiscal year, that Washoe County would consider taking over one of those FTEs and funding an additional FTE position, and then the May Arboretum Society would backfill behind that, so that hopefully over time, partnering together, that we might be able to increase the staffing to what the acceptable level of staffing is for arboretums across the country. I handed out cards, so you should have my card. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. The Society has started doing a program that's called Lunch and Learn, and so we'd love to have you all come out and learn about the May Arboretum Society, take a walk through the gardens and see everything that is happening out there. And I want to thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your volunteerism at our Arboretum.
Terry Brooks, followed by Tracy Hilton Thomas.
Good morning, it's me, Terry Brooks again. And today I'd like to address trying to adapt to poor health in the case of homelessness. Last time I was here, I talked about hunger. Today I'd like to talk about poor health. Being homeless and hungry can certainly lead to poor health. If being homeless and hungry is difficult to adapt to, then being in poor health is also difficult to adapt to. If you're physically healthy, you can physically adapt to change, as well as mentally adapting to such change. But if you're homeless and in poor health and don't have health insurance, it can even worsen your lack of assurance. And when you lack such self-assurance, it can then lessen your own endurance. If you have a home where you can rest, then you will be able to recover at your best. But if instead you are homeless, it's harder to recover from your illness. If you don't have air conditioning or have a home with heat, hot or cold weather is more difficult to beat. If you don't have access to proper hygiene, it's harder to adapt to a lifestyle that is not clean. For yourself, it is harder to take care if you don't have clean and proper clothing to wear. If you are sick and don't have proper medications, it can then cause some serious complications. And without access to a physician, it can worsen your poor condition. I would like to thank you all for listening to me today, and I look forward to coming back because I still got more to say.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Tracy Hilton Thomas, followed by Valerie Fianacca.
Good morning. Colossians 3:23 teaches us, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. On your item 10.E.1 for early voting and election day locations, what is the reason candidates and their direct family members are prohibited from working as employees during an election as stipulated in NRS 293.217? This is the very same reason a candidate's campaign headquarters should not be used for a polling location or election center. Please pull from the consent items this item and amend the register's list of locations by removing the Red Hawk location at 6600 Wingfield Parkway due to its unethical qualifications to be an unbiased voting location. We, the people, and I as a candidate, object to this blatant attempt to interfere with our primary election in such a shameless manner. Ethics complaints and election violations will be filed if this location is approved by anyone on this board. You wouldn't place one of these locations shared by a Democrat or Republican headquarters. There's no way you should be doing it for a candidate. I also want to thank Commissioner Clark for asking last week if staff members were consulted in the decision to move technology services out of Building C. The correct answer, however, was no. This is the department in which the CIO lives in California, and the person in charge locally has no clue on the critical importance of that data center. Not one rank and file staff member was consulted in this terrible idea. I know, because I asked. They're merely trying to Californicate our Nevada. Building C is the equivalent of the central nervous system of this complex. If the data center is breached or compromised, this whole complex is down for days, if not weeks. It is imperative that a buffer is maintained around that room. You don't open it up to public access. If you want to address an inefficient use of space, how about enclosing the waste of a courtyard out here? Park Lane did it. It would definitely be a better location for public interface such as our elections than the cluster that happens in this atrium. It certainly is not rational to move the department to a building that is in a flood zone. Just look at all the empty slabs on North Edison Way. You want an RV park for the homeless or to expand Grant's Safe Camp? There's your location. Already has utilities stub up throughout the complex. Go knock on Truckee Meadows Flood Authority's door. Leave the Rodeo Association alone. They have big plans for their facilities here. And we already struggle to find parking for these meetings. So please don't push employees out to the public parking areas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Valerie Fianacca, followed by Janet Butcher.
Valerie Fianacca for the record. I'm here today to hold all 5 of you responsible for the absolute cluster that is now the Library Board of Trustees. They had a meeting this week. Mary Lou's came, She didn't stay for the major cluster because it went on till 11:30 at night. From 5:30 till 11:30, it was special. You've had the opportunity to bring balance and common sense to this body, but instead it has been filled with activists and two straight-up bullies. Mrs. Ruff has turned out to be a bully, an absolute bully, as has Mr. Rogers. We already have one major bully in the form of Jeff Scott, the director. Now we have three. At the recent meeting, I witnessed Mr. Scott bully the videographer and the parliamentarian hired by the chair to assist and improve the quality of these meetings. It was an earnest attempt on her part to improve quality at these meetings. He actually body checked the videographer, and I videotaped the incident and will be submitting a complaint to HR. I've warned on multiple times about the legal risk Mr. Scott brings to this body, to the county. I'm screaming it loudly now at the top of my lungs. Don't know how to do it any more clearly. Punk Rock Flea Market was held this weekend. If any of you don't know what that is, you ought to check it out online. It happened in Sparks, even though it's funded by Reno City Council. It happened on the street where my business is located. It took up 4 city blocks of parking from Heimer down to Glendale. All the side streets, every business, their lots were full. I have nothing against this event. I want to point out to you that during this event, they host drag queen as well, which is awesome. You can go on their website, and check out the quality of the drag queens that they host at this event. It's an all-ages event. They do car smashing, beer drinking, punk rock, and children. If we have 2 days of this, and they do this event multiple times a year, where the people who can come and do the flea market are comrades. They're comrade activists who can sell their wares and do their whatever they do there. Why do we need drag queen store hour still in our libraries? A public place where we're funding it. I don't see any reason. They probably had at least 1,000 people there this weekend. It's a popular event. Nobody's protesting. It's very popular. They have food trucks. They have tons of people there. You couldn't park at my business. My husband was trapped inside my business because they were parking in our driveway. We don't need drag queen story hour. I'm going to say it again. In the library.
Janet Butcher.
Janet Butcher, for the record, please enter my comments verbatim into the minutes. I'm going to piggyback off of Ms. Fianaka's talking about the library. I was wanting to get to the library trustee meeting on time, but again, stuck on Pyramid Highway. So I was listening to it on the radio or on my phone, and the audio is absolutely, positively horrendous. Trustee Jacks has been asking for this to be moved to a venue where it could have a better audio, better video also. As I was listening to it, I was under the impression that the chair should be in control of the agenda and the meeting. Well, the whole time, all I could hear was Director Scott speaking over Ms. Jacks. I know that he's used to, in the past, that he has run these meetings, but that's not what's happening at the moment, or should be happening at the moment. And I do want to say one thing about, it seems that the Dewey Decimal System won over the Washoe County Code Ordinance, Chapter 50 for minors, with having to do with obscene material. That's a shame. 4 trustees voted not to put the books into an age-appropriate area while Chair Jacks stood her ground. God bless her. Also, too, if our center is paying for all of this stuff, and according to director, why don't they hold the event for Drag Queen Story Hour? Also, too, last but not least, where is Commissioner Herman's election resolution? I don't understand why it's not placed on the agenda. It is very similar to what Governor Lombardo has suggested, and I would think that 3 of the commissioners would want it on there. I know the other 2 don't, but thank you.
Thank you.
There's nobody else signed in chambers or online.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Per our agenda, we will take a break until 11 o'clock. Thank you, everyone. Good morning again, everyone. I will call the Board of County Commissioners meeting back to order, and we will now move to item 4, Mr. Solero.
Item number 4 is Commissioner County Manager's announcements, reports, and updates to include boards and commission updates, requests for information for topics of future agendas. And I have nothing today.
Okay, thank you very much. Looking to the board, Vice Chair Herman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I'll reserve mine, unless we could move item 4 until after our proclamations to take care of all the folks that have those. I will hold mine off until the last.
The end. Okay. All right, thank you. Looking to the rest of the board, Commissioner Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got a few announcements, a few things I'd like to talk about. One of them, the first one I'm going to start off with, Community Homelessness Advisory Board. We haven't had a meeting since Monday, September the 11th, 2023. I think with all the issues with homelessness, rules, regulations, helping folks, just having a better understanding of what we're trying to manage, I would like to see if we could make that a monthly meeting for a number of months to see if we can get ahead of some of these issues that we're dealing with. Meeting, again, almost over 6 months ago, and still there's a lot of things that we need to discuss as a region, and the only way we can do that properly is to have Sparks and Reno and ourselves here in this chambers and discussing homeless issues. So that's one thing that I'd like to see if we can get brought back and have on a regular basis the Community Homeless Advisory Board. So that's my first request. Moving on, I watched the show on a regular basis. I watched the show over the weekend, Face the State. The first 10 or 15 minutes of the interview with our registrar of voters was devoted solely to alleged threats and threats to election workers. And, I find to keep that narrative going is just right disingenuous. I've got an email I'm going to put on public record here, dated March 1st, 2024, to me. At the 1/16/24 BCC meeting, you'd noted hearing from former registrar of voters had received death threats and asked for documentation. Upon discussing this with Human Resources, the Security Administration, and former registrar of voters Jamie Rodriguez, there's no such records of Ms. Rodriguez having received death threats. So I asked for all death threats, all threats. It doesn't seem to be any documentation to back that up. So when I see a local news personality talking about it, and I see a county registrar of voters sitting there, somebody needs to correct that narrative and talk about what the facts are. I'm afraid if somebody hears this again and again and again, we might have somebody that might try and emulate that act or copycat kind of a situation. So I want the facts to be out to the public. According to what I have in my hand, I'm going to put on the public record, been no death threats. So why do we keep talking about that? Why do we let the news media continue to run with that narrative? And when a county employee is in a room when that's said, I think the county employee owes it a duty to the county to tell what the facts are. So if this is incorrect, I didn't author it. Somebody sent it to me. So this is information that I have. So I'd like to give this to the clerk and have her put it on the record. And next I want to talk about the vote we had here several weeks ago about homeless encampment and folks sleeping in their cars. I didn't support that. I haven't supported that for a number of years. I gave what I thought were legitimate reasons why I didn't support it, and yet I've got the mayor of Sparks attacking me on social media. I'm going to put this on the record. I got the mayor of the city of Reno attacking me about voting on this. Think about this. Where's the logic in this? They wanted this ordinance to pass, and this ordinance did pass, but because I didn't vote for it, I'm attacked. They got what they wanted. They wanted the ordinance to pass. They should just move on down the road. But that isn't enough for these two mayors. The two mayors have to take it upon themselves to attack me and, calling me an extremist. And the two moderate Dems and the moderate Republicans said that they wanted it. And the two extremists, Commissioner Herman and myself, are called extremists by the mayor because we didn't vote his way. Again, he got the ordinance passed. What is this? Is this sour grapes? Even when you win, it's not enough? Why do we have this kind of thing? So I'm going to enter these in the record. My comments were, I went to the meeting yesterday in Sparks and told the mayor exactly what I'm telling you. And so let that go where it needs to go. I don't know who's coaching the mayor, if somebody's coaching the mayor to get involved in this. The mayor accused me of voting that way to discredit another commissioner on this dais. I'm on the record. You can go back and look at public records. When I was the assessor back in December of 2022, long before I had ever met Commissioner Andriola, I was against this. So him trying to tell the world that I did it to discredit a commissioner, it's just not true. Why would a mayor get involved in this? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to help the mayor. I'm going to start studying his votes, and if I disagree with the way he's voting, I'll comment about that. So he's drawn attention to himself, and attention he shall have. So getting that on the public record, and I'm going to share these with the clerk as well. Also, I understand that the City of Sparks has had 2 arrests with their ordinance. I'd like to find out what exactly took place. Were these folks arrested because they were merely sleeping in public, or were they arrested because there was other reasons? So it'd be interesting to find out. Some of the folks who support this said, well, nobody's really going to get arrested. Well, apparently, according to news reports that I saw yesterday and this morning on the news, at least 2 people in Sparks have been arrested, and I'd like to know why. I mean, I'm sure they did something wrong. I'm not questioning the deputies or not the sheriffs, but the officers that did the arresting. I'm sure there was a reason, but what was the reason? Was it sleeping in a car? Was it, littering? Was it doing something else? Or was it doing something else that could have gotten them arrested without the ordinance being in place? So I'd just like to have that information, and it's something that we should note for our county so we don't make the same type of mistakes. And lastly, I want to continue to ask for based on the handbook of the commissioners, procedure handbook, Article 5, Section 5.5, meeting item request. Commissioner Herman had the following rules to get the agenda item, election integrity resolution on the agenda. I want to know why we haven't had that on the agenda. I want to know why we don't get an opportunity to vote on that. And I know the chair has dismissed it time and time again, but we've got a commissioner requesting it, and I'm now requesting it as well. So we have 2 commissioners requesting an agenda item to come to the agenda so we can vote on it in a public forum and let the public understand how the commissioners vote on this and what their voting record is on this. I think it's very important to have this on the record. The chair doesn't think that's important, but I think it's important. Commissioner Herman thinks it's important. So there's at least 2 commissioners who think it's important to have this on the record, and unless another commissioner wants to weigh in, and I know there's at least one could at this point in time without breaking the open meeting law, then I'm asking for the chair to put this on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I really appreciate you bringing up the CHAB board. We are meeting on Monday, May 13th, 9 to 11, right here in this meeting room. Commissioner Andriola, do you have anything?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to just give everyone a quick update that coming soon, and special thanks to the county manager and the acting county manager, Mr. Solero, and the team for soon to be released information about the analysis for the equine property owners, and also for stakeholder meetings that will be announced. And it's important that all voices are heard, whether you own horses or not, or any type of equine. It's important that everyone has that opportunity. So that is hopefully going to be coming soon. And I just really wanted to thank everyone. It's a heavy lift because there are a lot of entanglement with various regulations, and I'd also like to acknowledge Assemblywoman Hansen, who also has had LCB, as I've mentioned in the past, looking into this so that we can, determine what Washoe County is under their purview to look at, and then obviously the legislature can have that opportunity as well. But my understanding is that it's even gone farther than in terms of touching and impacting property owners outside of not just this Washoe County, but statewide. So I think that it's been in code, if you will, for a long time, so untangling that sometimes takes a little longer than everyone would like, but it is coming soon, truly coming soon. And Mr. Solero is shaking his head, confirming it's coming soon. So thanks to everyone who helped with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Andriola, and I know you've worked so hard on that, and it's really great when you bring solutions to these problems. I think that that's our job. Commissioner Clark.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. I'm pleased to hear that the Community Homeless Advisory Board will be meeting again soon, but it's been 9 months since our last meeting. This is a hot button issue in our county. It's a hot button issue in the city of Reno, the city of Sparks, and I think that we need to have more collaboration between the three municipalities, the two municipalities and the county, and get this rolling and get more proactive with the issues that are facing the whole community. So again, I'd like to reemphasize, I'd like to see more meetings than once every 8 or 9 months. I think it's important to have this discussion, and most importantly is to have public comment and folks that are actually living on the streets, people that are affected by this, business owners that businesses are affected by this, and have them come in and tell us their story instead of just listening to a one-sided narrative. I want to hear from the people about this, and I think it's important that all of us can learn and hear from the people and find out what's really taking place. I've talked to many of the business owners on 4th Street. I've talked to many of the folks that are guests at the CARES campus. I've had people film a lot of the folks. We've got a lot of statements, a lot of pent-up energy, a lot of pent-up comments, and I think that the county and the cities need to hear this on a regular basis so we can address the concerns of those that are having to live in that life. Thank you.
And I just wanted to make sure that we announce the Smart About Water Day that is coming up on Saturday, May 4th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. At McKinley Arts and Culture Center. It's a great opportunity for folks to learn about our water system. Commissioner Andriola and I sit on the TOMO board, and we have an excellent system, and we have a lot of incredible technology coming out to support our growing community. So please come out to that event. With that, if we don't have anyone else signed in, we will now move to item 5, our proclamation. And I think that Commissioner Andriola is going to present this. And Mr. Solera, if you'll read it into the record.
Absolutely. Item number 5A1 is to proclaim the week of April 21st through 27th, 2024 as Crime Victims' Rights Week.
Thank you very much. And I know that we have the whole team here, so looking forward to having DA Hicks and his team here.
Thank you. I'd like to go ahead and read the Board of County Commissioners proclamation. Whereas in 2023, there were 3,851 domestic and elderly crimes, 2,444 violent crimes, to include murder, sexual assault, and robbery, and 10,828 property crimes in Washoe County. And whereas the term victim is more than just a label and has a legal standing and protections that go along with it. Crime victims' rights afford victims the right to meaningfully participate and use their voice in the criminal justice process. And whereas the right to provide an impact statement ensures that victims' voices are considered in court during the sentencing and, when applicable, the restitution process. Engaging survivors creates responses and services that are credible, meaningful, and centered on individual needs. Including and elevating the voices of survivors ensures they are heard and seen and creates a path to forging and sustaining community trust. And whereas the Washoe County District Attorney's Office, the Washoe County Sheriff's Office, victim service providers, advocates, and other allied professionals can help survivors find their justice by enforcing these rights. And whereas National Crime Victims' Rights Week provides an opportunity to recommit to listening to crime survivors, and whereas we are publicly showing our commitment to creating a victim service and criminal justice response that assists all victims of crime during Crime Victims' Rights Week, April 21st through 24th, 2024, and throughout the year, and are expressing our sincere gratitude and appreciation to those who are committed to improving our response to all victims of crimes so that they may find relevant assistance, support, justice, and peace. Now, therefore, the Board of County Commissioners does hereby proclaim the week of April 21st through the 27th, 2024 as Crime Victims' Rights Week.
Wonderful. And yes.
Thanks for all you do.
Thank you for your
I'll give
incredible
this to
work.
you.
And DA Hicks, I'd love to hear from you.
I just quickly want to thank you all for doing this proclamation today. This really is a very important week for crime victims. National Crime Victims' Rights Week has been going on for 40 years. And the primary goal of it is to bring awareness, of course, to crime victims' rights, but also to challenge all the barriers that they face on a daily basis. And I can tell you what my office sees and what the sheriff's office sees, what crime victims have to go through in the criminal justice process is very challenging. And so every moment that we can take, both as government, as law enforcement professionals, as policymakers, as our community as a whole, to reinforce our commitment to crime victims, not just this week, but the other 51 weeks of the year, is immensely appropriate, because every day we do that, we chip away at the imbalance that exists in the system. We have to balance criminal defendants' rights with crime victims' rights. And I'm happy to say in my career, I've begun to see a shift, but we need to keep moving forward with it. The last thing I just want to say, two things. The other important part of this week is to acknowledge not just crime victims and the challenges they face, but those that support crime victims. And to my right here and to my left, we have a couple representatives of a group of people that I think are so immensely important to talk about, and that's victim advocates. We have several victim advocates from my office, victim advocate from the sheriff's office. I really believe that they are the hidden heroes of the criminal justice system. They are there constantly for crime victims, and it is not easy at all, the work they do, but they're so committed. They do such an amazing job. They really deserve all the credit in the world. The last thing I wanted to say is you may have noticed that purple is the color of National Victims of Crime Week. So you may see some buildings have turned purple in our community. People wear purple ties like I am. We also have purple pins that the DA's office put together. I brought each of you a pin that you can wear if you want to show for the rest of the week that you are a supporter of crime victims' rights. So thank you very much for the proclamation.
Thank you. And let's do a quick photo and meet these incredible advocates.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. over here.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. I love celebrating the great work that happens in Washoe County every day by our incredible public servants and staff. Commissioner Andriolo, was that in a form of a motion?
Yes.
Okay, I'm looking for a second. Thank you, Vice Chair. And Madam Clerk, is there any public comment on this item?
There's nobody signed in.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions on that? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Okay, and that motion passes 4-0. We are now moving to item 6. Mr. Solero.
Item number 6 is a presentation regarding the Regional Transportation Commission 2025 Regional Transportation Plan update. And in the audience today, we have Mr. Bill Thomas and Mr. Dale Keller from RTC.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Good morning, Chair Hill and Commissioners. For the record, Bill Thomas, Executive Director of the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County. Also with me is Dale Keller. Dale's the Deputy Director, Executive Director, and he's actually going to be making the presentation today. We're here before you, and we appreciate your time to talk about perhaps the most important planning effort that we do every 5 years, which is the development of the Regional Transportation Plan for Washoe County. As Dale will point out, this document is very important in terms of the decision-making that we make and the RTC Board makes in our transportation network for the future. So it's a 20-year plan. And what we're here for is to introduce the concept or the planning process to you, and then also share with you your opportunities for participation, or if you have citizens who want to participate, how we can help them do that. So I will hand the podium or the microphone over to Dale.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Dale Keller, Deputy Executive Director for the record. So as Bill and I are here, we're here to talk about the future of transportation and what does this look like for our region for the next 20 years. So every 5 years, as Bill mentioned, the RTC leads the effort with our agency partners to create the roadmap and the transportation framework for the next 20 years. And that's commonly referred to, as shown on the screen, as the Regional Transportation Plan, or the RTP. As Bill mentioned, the purpose of today's presentation is to inform the county of the RTP process, as well as convey how our team is engaging with the public, our partner agencies, including our elected leaders and staff, the inter-county stakeholders, and our RTC board. And our commitment is to engage early and often. So the RTC has been designated by state legislature as the Metropolitan Planning Organization, or MPO, as required by federal law for transportation funding in Washoe County. We are the transportation policy making organization made up of 1 representative from City of Sparks, 2 from City of Reno, and then 2 from this board at the county. The RTC is also responsible for managing transportation revenue and providing regional transit service. As I stated, the RTP, or the Regional Transportation, is a roadmap of the future. The purpose of the RTP is to outline transportation projects, programs, and services provided through 2050 and capture the community's vision for the transportation system. This document functions as a major tool for implementing long-range transportation planning established by the framework and implementation plan to achieve that vision. So the RTP does go an update every 5 years and ensure the plan aligns with the current conditions and the community's priorities. And now we're embarking on that latest update since 2021. And I'd like to point out this is a refresh and is not an overhaul, and the goals and objectives set forward in this from the previous iteration is to review and confirm that they're still reflective. So this timeline on the screen outlines the key milestones and phases of the update process. ensuring transparency and opportunity for community involvement along the way. Last fall, the team kicked off the RTP with local agency staff and stakeholders and partners, and we're finalizing the collection of the existing conditions analysis and issues forum. Currently, we are here on this public envisioning and goals in spring of 2024. Later this summer and fall, our teams will actually look into the future needs of our network system and then present a draft RTP document here in the winter of 2025 with possible final adoption by the RTC board of next spring. So we're currently seeking and discussing the vision, the future of the transportation, and it's important to set these guardrails. And these guiding principles act as our guardrails to these goals and the projects and aligning with what the RTP's vision is. And the guiding principles may be updated based on feedback we receive today, as well through the public input and through our partnering agencies and stakeholders. As for goals-wise, the purpose of the RTP goals is to provide direction and focus for the regional transportation projects, and all future projects and programs must satisfy at least one of these goals and could satisfy all 7 of these goals as shown on the screen. As previously stated, these goals can be refreshed as we go through this process as well. These are some what we identified from the last and the current 2050 RTP. So as an example, and a little bit of sidebar right now, here's an example of a future regional transportation program that meets all 7 goals, and it is the Intelligent Transportation Systems, or ITS. So ITS, think about it as the smart component of transportation, and it's a way to augment our traditional improvements of widening roads. So how can we squeeze the most operations and efficiencies out of our network? So the RTC, City of Reno, City of Sparks, and Washoe County staff has been collaborating for roughly about 2 years on this ITS strategic master plan that will regionalize traffic signals as well as the operations. And so the first symbolic step that we're looking to take, the RTC and the 3 local jurisdictions, is to enter into a memorandum of understanding that outlines these 4 topics here for decision-making, operations, maintenance, and standards. This MOU will be presented to the Board of County Commissioners at a future meeting, most likely here in May. And the next thing, kind of talk about a little bit how this process is work, and I want to highlight some of the examples that we're currently moving forward to based off today's regional transportation plan is the projects here in the North Valleys. And this map depicts all the public works projects in the area, from freeways to regional roadway improvements, from drainage to sewer to schools. So as we continue to look into this update, North Valleys will be another area of continued focus for upcoming RTP projects. So how this happened, and this is a good way that where RTC is bringing together all local, regional, and state leaders and experts to collaborate how the community moves and gets around. So instead of just focusing on roads or a transit center, this agency working group with these partners shown on the screen thinks about how everything fits together, from transportation, from land use, from equitable movement and mobility and access to jobs and schools and activity centers, and how this also impacts the environment. This is more of a detailed schedule and a visual to kind of show the different levels of engagement. Starting at the top is the public. We're engaging the public in 3 methods. First is the virtual kickoff to share information about the proposed RTP, and this is currently live. It's at our website at rtcwashoe.com/RTP. Second, this includes a community survey. We're asking for input, and actually a geo-focused forum where they can actually input, hey, this is an issue that I see in my region, and bring that to our attention. And the third is social media engagement to analyze different themes related to transportation. Second one down is our RTC board. Last month, at our RTC board retreat, the board members participated in a detailed discussion about current transportation issues, what we want to identify as major themes moving forward, and I've provided direction back to staff. So the board will continue to receive regular updates as we go through this process and help provide RTC staff with that direction and that possible adoption back in spring. I mentioned the agency working group. This is the group that will meet every other month to receive RTP updates, offer solutions to transportation themes and topics, and share input from the representative organizations. So this is the great way for this selected body to continue to provide input through the process, through staff, as we move through your thoughts and opinions and feedback. We also have associations, partnerships. We talk about themes from, call it freight movement to active transportation. So bikes and peds will be able to have more in-depth discussions with those agency partners. And lastly here, from this regional governments who are here today, talk about the process, talk about how we're going to be moving along and how you can provide that input. So I mentioned how you get involved and how the public can get involved. This is our active way where we can go scan your QR code. It'll direct you directly to our survey link. That's a long QR code on there and a long address, but once again, just go to rtcwashoe.com/RTP where you can provide your input now. And this comment period is going to be open through middle of May. And I'll leave it here with the next steps is as we continue, we want to make sure we're committed to having that transparent, inclusive planning and engagement. To stay engaged, please continue to check up on our website. We'll be able to, you can enlist on our email notifications and continue to follow RTC Washoe on our social media. With that, Bill and I will be happy to answer any questions that you have about our regional transportation plan.
Great, thank you so much. Vice Chair Herman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question. I am the representative for District 5, and that, of course, is where you're doing a lot of work. And I have one question that just glares out there all the time. How long will it be before the McCarran on-ramp is back in service?
Commissioner Herman, great question. So I believe you're referring to the US 395 North Valleys widening project that the Department of Transportation, NDOT, is administrating. I don't have an answer for you, but I know that is going to continue through this summer. I'll be happy to get that information back from NDOT for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Looking to the rest of the board, Commissioner Andriola.
I've mentioned this before, that I feel like RTC's logo is everywhere in District 4 and beyond. And I just actually have a question for Assistant County Manager Solero. When 311 calls come in that speak to traffic congestion or recommendations that should be considered, is that information forwarded to RTC?
I believe if it is specific to an RTC item, we do forward it to them, but a lot of the calls and things we come in are either NDOT or City of Reno, City of Sparks, Washoe County. They're not necessarily related directly to the work that RTC is doing. However, through this process, we can take that information that we've gotten and provide a package to RTC so they can see generally, how that information might fit into their RTP planning.
I really appreciate that because we all get feedback. And I think being able to articulate that back to RTC or any of the appropriate partners, already is in place, but I just want to highlight it because traffic is a big deal. And everyone, I think, is very eager to Commissioner Vice Chair Herman's point about when is it going to be done. And I think the bigger part is also sometimes the misunderstanding of understanding what is under RTC, what is under NDOT, and how that all works. And then the years of planning that goes into that before actually any project is even executed. And so it looks like why things didn't happen so quickly with the influx of growth. But a lot of that is taken into consideration when projects are given. And approved. So it's a huge process. And so I just want to, recognize you as well as many of the other partners to really try and keep us flowing, because I see on slide 7 that one of your items is congestion. And I think if you were to do a survey, at least in the district I serve and the people I serve, I think that would be their number one, their number one item. So I appreciate congestion reduction being a part of the many factors that you look into it with this RTP update. And thanks for reaching out to everybody. And thank you, Mr. Solero, for helping to elevate that we can continue to push this out so people can have a voice. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I understand the difference between RTC and NDOT. a lot of folks don't get that message. So I think it's important to make sure that, a lot of this is, a lot of congestion could be attributed to what the state is doing. But how you interact with them is important, of importance to the constituents as well. We've got 580 running north and south, we've got 80 running east and west, and then we kind of trickle down. We've got some city roads, some county roads, some roads that, improvements that you're responsible for. And the log jams seem to be trying to get, in the afternoon, trying to get from this side of, from the south side of 80 to the north side, and during the morning, it's probably the opposite of that. And then, as the highways get congested, then people take the surface roads, and then the surface roads get congested, and then we've just got a log jam happening at different points. I'd like to see a presentation on the different log jams and congested areas that are out there, and how the projections to address those areas that lock up. I think that would be important for the public to understand what the priorities are and how that's going to be addressed, because you can't widen these underpasses under Highway 80, the train tracks, and Rock Boulevard, and there's just so many ways you can get on the other side of that highway, and a lot of it looks immovable at this point in time. But I'd like to see a presentation specifically directed at where we know there's congestion, and what plans and what priorities we have to address those particular intersections, and what plans we have to address those areas of blockage. So I don't know if that's possible, but I'd like to make that request. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioner questions or comments? Okay. I just have a few, and I am so honored to serve on the RTC board with Commissioner Garcia, and the incredible work that you and your team do every day to try to find solutions and funding, and compete nationally to see how we can improve our network, and working with NDOT, because that is a partnership now with this leadership under RTC. So thank you for that. I would love, to Commissioner Clark's question, I think that the commissioners have no idea what we're doing with ITS, and that presentation we had from UNR and our team, and the work that they're doing, there may be an opportunity either to, I guess we could send them the link of when that happens, or maybe we could bring you back when you have this on our consent, because I don't think the community realizes all the science and data that's going into reducing congestion areas and living within the roadway that we have today. So that would be really great to see that. I would love if your team could send us a social media kit to promote the survey, and make sure that we get that out on all of our channels and to our constituents, and that the county gets it out, and that we are all supporting that. And then I was thinking on your stakeholder slide, I think we need to talk about a connection to Lake Tahoe, since we aren't the MPO for Lake Tahoe, yet we do a lot of the transit in Lake Tahoe. So figuring out how to either have TTD as a stakeholder, and make sure that we're thinking about that connection from Reno to Tahoe. How do we get people out of their cars and get them on public transit and do park and rides and all that? I'm always plugging that. So if there's a way we can add them as a stakeholder, that would be wonderful. And I think those are all my comments. So thank you. With that, this is a present. Oh yes, Commissioner Clark.
One more comment, just to kind of put a finer point on this. I hear the public on a regular basis. They listen to the news. They listen to the reports of gas prices nationally, statewide, locally. Again, with the congestion that we have, this is a real sore point with folks. They can barely get around, and they're paying more for gas in this county than anywhere else in the state, it's my understanding. And so, again, I'd like to see prioritized where that funding that the folks are in the game as well. They're stakeholders in the game. Everybody who has a car in this county is a stakeholder in this congestion. So again, I'd like to see how you're planning on addressing the areas that are congested, and prioritizing those, so folks understand when they might see some relief. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time, and looking forward to continuing to engage on the RTP, and I can't wait to do that MOU for the ITS system. That's really exciting. Have a great day. Thank you. All right, we will move on to item number 7, Mr. Solero.
Item number 7 is a presentation and update on the third quarter status report for the Washoe County Regional Detention Facility to include the security of the jail, conditions of confinement, staffing, and medical care of the inmates housed at the Washoe County Sheriff's Office. And we have Captain Venn coming down to give us the presentation.
Welcome.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. For the record, Captain Andy Venn, Washoe County Sheriff's Office, Detention Operations. I'm happy to present to you the third quarter report for the jail. Out of respect for your time and prior wishes, the complete PowerPoint's been presented to you to go through with the in-depth numbers. I'm going to hit a few highlights, and then as I have in the past, I'm going to highlight a different area of the jail that we don't get to see too often and the public doesn't know much about. You can see our average daily population is holding fairly steady, with the Q3 average daily population of inmates being 1,159, and the average length of stay being 16.92 days, also fairly consistent. We're coming into the summer months, and we have a lot of events coming up. Our average population does go up. We expect an increase of 60 to 70 coming up in the next few months as the temperature warms up. Do our best to house them appropriately with dignity and the space that they need. But space is coming in a crunch, and we're always looking at creative ways to house and to get people out of custody so we're not overcrowded. Can we get the next PowerPoint, please? Over the past quarter, we've booked 3,630 inmates, and we've released 3,694. As long as those numbers stay within a few of each other, we're going to be okay. But when the booked outweighs the releases, that's when we run into some problems.
Do you need help switching? There's a little remote there. I don't know if that works.
I was looking to switch to the next PowerPoint.
Oh, to another PowerPoint.
As we have in the past few meetings, I've brought with me a special guest to present today. Food Service Manager George Obrich runs our food service program up at the jail. I'm not going to jump in and give you any of the impressive numbers that he runs, but I think that you'll find his presentation fascinating. And upon conclusion of his presentation, we're available for any questions. Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chair, George Obrich for the record. I don't view my position as punishing other humans with food. Otherwise, I couldn't do this job. It's the courts who administer punishment. I just feed them in the best way I know how with the taxpayer resources I am entrusted with. I'm a graduate of the Culinary Institute of America in both culinary arts and baking and pastry, and I've spent my entire life in kitchens. I've never done anything else. Over the past 5 years, I feel along with the executive staff, I have made dramatic and very noticeable changes to our overall food service. I know this because when I talk to inmates who were in custody in years prior, they comment on all the changes that have been made and seem happy about it. I take great pride in the food that we serve as well as fiscal responsibility to the taxpayers. In the years prior, our menus were very repetitive, bland, and not appealing, and sometimes a mystery. Menus are printed out at each meal describing exactly what is being served, so the concept of mystery meat has been eliminated. Next one. We bake our own cake mixes complete with real frostings that we make in-house. Different flavors of ice creams are served every Saturday night. We like to change that up with whatever we can find, from caramel sauce, strawberry sauce, fresh raspberries, frozen raspberries, whatever we can get a hold of, we like to create with. The breads we serve are varied and delicious, and we even make our own jail-made focaccia and cornbread. We bake fresh cookies and bread 7 days a week. Everything's fresh. Our weekly breakfast menu is weekly and non-repetitive with pumpkin oatmeal and pumpkin spice, and even biscuits and gravy are served on Thursdays as a special treat meal. Cinnamon spice cracked 9-grain cornmeal and white grits round it all off. Everyone was also given a fresh cup of Parbucks coffee, a fresh piece of fruit at breakfast, and a fresh piece of fruit at lunch daily. Even our famous ground meat sandwich has gotten an upgrade, now offering both turkey and ham spiced with either Cajun, barbecue, curry, mayonnaise, mustard, relish, pretty much whatever I can find that I think will improve things for the guys. It's the monotony and the repetition that I really try to get away from. Most recently is pepperoni from a pizza company out of California. Was able to get it at a great price. Something different, everybody seems to like it. My goal is to offer a better variety to everyone in our in-custody inmates. Through better purchasing practices, we've been able to provide a better looking, more desirable, and well-received jail meal service. And it sometimes is a little tricky. God bless you. There are some myths going around I would like to just dispel right now. Despite what anyone says, we take 0 donations, and this is more for a safety concern instead of trying to take things away from the food bank for other needy Washoe County citizens. I won't do that. There is no food that's labeled not for human consumption in my kitchen whatsoever, and there hasn't been in years. There's no animal feed. I know that rumor does travel around that we're serving horse food for oatmeal. The stuff's expensive, and it comes out of Utah from Honeyville Foods, and they're a prime #1 vendor. Anyone I talk to is actually not allowed by law to sell animal and human food. These nasty rumors just need to be addressed. They aren't happening. In the facility, we do have a bunch of religious inmates who have found God while in custody or came in there with that religious belief, and they require a special religious diet, and we honor that. I work closely with our chaplains to ensure that we're providing the best possible alternative to our population meal service that accommodates each and everyone's religious beliefs. As you know, 2 weeks ago was the end of Ramadan, and we were able to successfully provide our participating inmates a Ramadan meal, complete with honoring their religious beliefs. We also provide kosher, halal, and about 6 other specialty meals that are part of someone's religious beliefs. And we make sure and stay on top of that so no one gets violated, and we do honor it. Currently, we have about 298 inmates with special diet needs. There are inmates who require a special medical diet. We do work closely with our medical team, NAFCare, to provide inmates exactly what is required to meet their medical nutritional needs. These can range anywhere from people with dental issues all the way up to cardiac diets and a couple of cancer patients, and a few very sensitive cases that require constant monitoring and constant communication with the medical team to ensure we're getting it right for them. Numbers. Last year, we produced over 1.8 million meals and snacks, and that's a lot. We serve about 500,000 bananas a year, 250,000 oranges, 250,000 apples, 100,000 pounds of carrots, and over 70,000 pounds of fresh potatoes, just to name a few. The inmates are provided a well-balanced, delicious, and nutritious meal. We do produce about 3,600 meals every single day without fail for the past 30 years. We couldn't do it without the help of about 30 inmates in the kitchen at any given time. It's a busy shop, and I think we're doing pretty good at it. Cost savings and purchasing strategy. Currently, the budget is about $1.5 million. Spending it wisely is where it gets very creative and sometimes tricky. I have price points that I like to stick to, but over the past couple of years, we have experienced severe increases in the price of food, forcing me to get creative and keep our very competitively priced meals low. Over the past several months, we have been able to average the cost of each inmate meal and snack to about $1.35. This is highly competitive, if not unbeatable, by any correctional food service contractor. Not to mention the quality that I can give at that price point, I know is unbeatable. The food that I'm buying, I want to explain what first and prime vendors are. That's what we get when we go to the grocery store or you go to a restaurant. These foods are called primes and number ones, and unfortunately, they don't fit my price point. However, a lot of these companies know who I am and what I do, and when they have something that they have discontinued or need to unload, they know to call me, and this is where I get fantastic pricing on these items that have been discontinued. Great product, couldn't afford it otherwise, and I'm happy that we were able to get it. 50 cents a pound for sirloin steaks and prime hams, I think would be a really good example of that. I get a lot of animal proteins from them. Recently, I was able to purchase 2 pallets of pork bellies that we were able to serve with Indo-Pacific curry rice, and it was actually well received by everybody. That's just one of the things that we do with 50 cent a pound stuff that's we normally couldn't get a hold of. But the bulk of how I'm spending the county's money on inmate meals is done with secondary market vendors. These are the people that sell to elementary schools, so I can tell you that the food is not that bad if we're feeding it to our children. These are factory misspecs where a bakery produced an item for a chain restaurant that necessarily wasn't up to the standards and they didn't meet the specifications given. And in an effort to recoup some of the lost money, everybody gets to bid on these lower priced items. That's how I get to serve fantastic French bread and focaccia, croissants. It's pretty amazing, you know, and it's good stuff since we're feeding it to our children. When deciding on what is purchased and what is served, I usually look at what I call the wow factor. This can be a good indicator of how well it's going to be received by people. Everybody who talks to me about purchasing and buying from them knows what I'm looking for, and if it's not well received and has enough wow factor, I just won't get it. I think at the same price, when I can buy 5-inch pepperoni pizzas for everybody versus a slice of ham, one is much more well received than the other, so that's the direction I go, is something that has the most wow factor. None of that means anything unless we know what to do with it, and the staff that we have in the jail kitchen are all ex-casino cooks who have spent their entire lives in kitchen, similar to myself. And that comes in handy when you can buy a $3 case of a syrup, doctor it up, and turn that into a $90 case of soft serve ice cream. It's what we do with it that I think really brings the quality to it, because without that, it just wouldn't come together like it normally does. Recently, we purchased a whole bunch of new equipment just to try to make things a little bit better in an effort to increase quality and safety in the kitchen. Recently, we purchased a large meat grinder that should have been done 25 years ago for the volume that we're doing. And the goal with that was to actually take the knives out of inmates' hands, and they can do about 400 pounds an hour without the use of a knife. And I'm sure everybody likes that idea. As the food services manager, I feel it is my responsibility to try to bring us into the coming future and years and looking beyond 2035. We've come up with a plan that after Housing Unit 10 and a new medical facility is completed with 220 beds, we will need to expand our square footage, and we are going to take over another smaller satellite kitchen and convert that into a full-service kitchen. The original main kitchen that we're using now was only designed to feed about 800 people for when it was initially built, so square footage is tight. Sometimes it gets a little crazy trying to move everything around and be on time, but it's doable for now. So looking past 2035, a new medical building and more housing units, We're trying to get that on the CIP in 2025 to convert that and ensure we don't miss anyone's meal, because that's going to create a problem. Do you guys have any questions?
Looking to the board, Vice Chair Herman.
I have a serious question to ask.
I like those.
Really? Could you cook for the seniors?
You want to handle it?
I know that's a tough question.
No, it's not. We've explored that,
Okay?
and there was some issues with guaranteeing inmate labor that could have handled that. And at that time, we felt it wasn't going to be sufficient to do it. Personally, I would love to.
So if we increase the kitchen in the future here?
There are logistical challenges behind that we have explored in depth, and I wouldn't mind re-exploring them, and that would include the use of the senior citizens' kitchen and inmate labor. I feel that with my purchasing practices that I've proven to be efficient and good, I could probably do a lot better than what's currently being given.
Thank you very much. Let's look into
You're welcome.
Commissioner Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I want to salute you for your passion and this job. I think you're doing this job as a calling almost. You're doing a good job purchasing and making the magic happen over there with
Thank you.
the funds that are involved. But it's phenomenal. You can make a meal for these folks, and as many meals as you make on a regular basis, and the cost point. And I've heard it from senior members of the sheriff's staff that you serve better food than what our seniors get. And also, to that point, if you serve the kind of food that the seniors are getting, you'd probably have a riot over at your facility. So you're doing a great job. I salute you. I'd like to get a tour of the jail kitchen, the facilities, and I'd like to sample the food there if we can get that arranged.
Of course.
And I talked to Sheriff Balaam himself, and he said he would like to be involved in bidding on and preparing food for our seniors. So I think there's maybe a way that we can make that work with our kitchen here, and maybe just folks that get released from your facilities could maybe work here at the county as employees and continue the good work here that you have there. I think there's ways to work around this and find folks that, have served their time and need a job, and maybe we could hire those folks. And with your supervision and purchasing power, maybe we could even do better over here than we're doing. So thank you for the good work you do.
Thank you. Commissioner Andriella.
I just really want to commend you. I mean, having somebody from the CIA working at in your position is a high caliber. I don't know if people really understand that designation that you have not only earned during your training, but have exemplified throughout your career is to be commended. And part of that is cost control. Whether you're working in the capacity you are or working in other, it's always cost control. But you, I think, have hit miracle cost control.
Yeah, it's at an extreme level.
When I looked at the staff report, $1.35 per meal is unbelievable. And so kudos to you for not only the creativity, but the expertise that you bring. And I always love saying that when people are from the CIA, I've had folks who have graduated from the Culinary Institute of America. It is the Harvard of culinary degrees. So we're blessed, and thank you for all you do.
I appreciate that.
Yes, I'm so excited that you chose this program to present to us today. When I've toured in the jail in the past, I asked inmates, so how's it going? And what do you think of the food? And they love it. That's typically never a negative comment, and it just shows, your passion. The workers in the kitchen that help you, I've been able to talk to them as well, and it seems like it's a rewarding job to do while they're there. So thank you for, ensuring that everyone's part of that team to build great meals at the jail and treat everyone with dignity and respect and honor their dietary restrictions. So we are so blessed to have you. I feel like the news should do a profile on someone you need to know, because I don't think folks realize the caliber that we have at the jail.
I have definitely passed along the dignity and respect of the inmates to everyone else, and I make sure that they're treated like that, because they are Washoe County citizens and they're innocent until proven guilty.
Exactly.
My job.
And that's leadership that you're showing. So thank you so much. Commissioner Clark.
One last comment as well, is I think that the staff at the Sheriff's Department understands monotony and dignity are two issues that should be something on the menu as well. I mean, folks don't want to have the same thing on a regular basis. They don't want to have overcooked Brussels sprouts every day and things like that. So I think the idea of variety and creativity are something to be saluted. So thank you for doing good
You're
work
welcome.
there.
The average stay is about 2 weeks, but I strive. There are people who are there for years, and I try to make sure that we're not doing the same thing over and over and over. It just gets to be too much, even for those people that work there. Variety is a good thing.
Thanks for your good work.
Yes, thank you. And I need to set up my next jail tour. It's been a while. So I think there's some graduations coming up as well that I want to
love
make
to
sure
see
I
you
go
there.
to. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And the commissioners, this is the third installment of bringing some of the jail to life for not only the commissioners, but for the public. If you have any areas of interest to those that have been to the jail and have toured it that would like to know more about and get an in-depth look, I'm more than receptive. You know how to contact me. I would love to have you up for a meal, Commissioner Clark. That would be fantastic. And I look forward to seeing you next quarter. Please let me know if you have any questions or further clarifications for the next trip. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Ben. And when I've taken a tour and walked the jail with you, I have to also commend your passion in working with our inmates and supporting great services there. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, we will now move to item 8. Mr. Slero.
Item number 8 is a presentation and discussion by Gabrielle Enfield, our Community Reinvestment Manager, regarding the status update of the Community Reinvestment and the State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds grant of $91,587,038 awarded to Washoe County pursuant to the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021.
For the record, Gabrielle Enfield, Community Reinvestment Manager. Madam Chair, County Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to give you an update on community reinvestment and on our state and local fiscal recovery funds. It's been a little while since I've come, so I have a number of items to provide an update on. We have finished a community reinvestment strategic plan, which you received a copy of. I also have a few in the back of the room for any public that's interested. Of course, I'll go over an update of our state and local fiscal recovery funds, a quick update on federal appropriations, and on our sponsored projects, or those discretionary grants that we work on. And then I'm proud to have Lauren provide you an update on the opioid abatement recovery fund. Lauren is our new hire, and you will get to meet her in one moment. This is our team, small but mighty team. Last time I came to present, I let you know that we had the pleasure of adding Connie Lucido to our team, our county grants administrator. So she's part of our team, and it's been really wonderful to have grants administration along with community reinvestment, so we're able to maximize our efforts there. I also want to introduce Anna Verbicki. She is our, you're going to do the
Thank you.
For the record, my name is Anna Verbecki, and I am the new Grants and Community Programs Analyst. I've been here, I started on March 4th, and a majority of my time has been designated on overseeing a lot of the ARPA funds because of the magnitude, and I'm getting involved in a lot of other different community projects, but I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So I'm going to just hit a few highlights on our strategic plan for community reinvestment. I'm just going to read this because you know how we work so hard on identifying what is our mission. Our core purpose is to identify and address community needs resulting in lasting positive impact by convening, aligning new and existing resources to solve problems and gaps. So we've been working through all of the activities that we do to address the needs. And like the commissioners have been telling us since we started, addressing root causes. We focus on engaging in projects or initiatives that have the potential for a significant broad community impact or to incubate something that can have a bigger impact. I'm not going to go through all of those. You've got your slide. I do want to focus on our strategic goals. Our number one strategic goal is to create transformative change in key Washoe County strategic focus areas. So we take our path from what the Washoe County Commission identifies as strategic focus areas. So you'll see when you see us doing projects or focusing, it'll be per that direction. We also want to build capacity and facilitate community response. You'll see I'll mention a little later in my presentation some of the ways we're working to do that. And then third is to educate the community about what we do, build awareness so that we can work more closely with the community and make a more regional impact. How do we do what we do? We don't do it. Everybody does it. We're a facilitator, so we work through departments. Many of our projects are internal projects implemented by our departments or by community nonprofits. We're a convener of stakeholders. We do occasionally do some direct project delivery, so that is part of what we do as well. Next, so we've been working hard on implementing the state and local fiscal recovery funds throughout the past 2+ years. As you know, we received $91 million, over $500,000. We are making very good progress obligating and spending this money, which is our responsibility. And in order to meet the deadlines that Treasury has identified. So we have an obligation deadline for December of 2024 and expenditure deadline of December of 2026. And from these numbers, you can see we have allocated through the Board of County Commissioners 96% of these funds and expended 52% of the funds already. You'll see that at the bottom there, we have remaining to allocate $3.4 million. That includes the deobligated funds that are a little later in today's meeting. Of those $3 million, we're putting back in the pot for allocation to new projects, and that was $3 million that was taken out of the capital fund for the CARES campus because the expected community capital campaign and donations came in, and we were able to move that money back over. We have over 115 projects, which throughout the county and our nonprofits, and so far 29 projects have been completed. This is our timeline. As you can see, we're working to obligate existing projects. We have that deadline coming up, less than a year. So we're working to support it and encourage moving those projects to contracts or other mechanisms that will be meeting the obligation requirements so that all the funds are obligated and Washoe County does not return any dollars. Will be a little bit, you'll see some de-obligation in one of the staff reports and items later today. As projects get finished under budget, we'll be bringing those back for de-obligation. And then federal appropriations. So each year, community reinvestment supports the application to Congress, to our congressional representatives for the federal appropriations. And I just wanted to summarize right now how many we have and from the past years. The most recent federal fiscal year 24, as you know, went into continuing resolution. Congress just passed the budget, so our appropriations just got passed as well. We've already heard from the Bureau of Justice Assistance on the Sheriff's Office award. So now that the award has been submitted and passed through Congress, that goes back to the Sheriff's Office, and they will be implementing that project for a rapid DNA program. And we expect to hear soon from the agency on Bailey Creek. The Lemon Valley, which was last federal fiscal year, storm improvements is underway, and working closely with the state as our funder on that. We have two others that are the CARES Campus Capital, $12 million is well through a significant expenditure, and then the Sheriff's Office interim infirmary design, that's something we're working towards. This last year, we just submitted, through our congressional representatives 3 specific projects, one for emergency foster beds due to our the crisis of we don't have enough foster families, and also very specific care for kids who are higher needs. West Hills, we submitted an application for 2 years of operating that will assist us in the startup for West Hills once all of the renovation is done, which we'll also see an item on the agenda for that. And then Hidden Valley Regional Park wetlands. Also, we worked with our partner at Tahoe Regional Planning Agency. They submitted an application for a project up at the lake for Third Creek for water clarity. Really quick, the timeline. Generally, we would see the appropriations approved earlier, like August, September, October. It does extend sometimes, as you know. Right now, the senators and Congressman Amodei, they'll be submitting to committees, so we'll be hearing about those that go forward to committees very soon. All right. So sponsored projects, checking to see if Connie is in the room. Connie is working hard today, facilitating a training on the new OMB guidelines, so she wasn't able to come. But sponsored projects is really those discretionary grants that Washoe County submits applications to in competitive opportunities. So one of the things that we do through this program and that Connie leads is a new initiative, Community Grant Readiness. So we are stronger as a region if our nonprofits are stronger and more able to apply for and receive federal funds. Our goal is to have more federal money come back to Washoe County. We're, as I probably mentioned before, Washoe County and the state of Nevada is actually very low in the amount of federal assistance we receive compared to how much goes up to the federal government. So this is an initiative to improve and support nonprofits' ability to go out and get more of those federal funds. We also identify and coordinate the facilitation of grant applications, have a consultant that supports grant writing. I won't read through all of these, but this is the work that we're doing through grants management. Also, we're starting to plan a statewide conference on grants management, which we've supported back in 2019. It was very well received statewide, just increasing the knowledge and understanding of grants and ability of grant professionals. Really quick, and I wanted to share with you, this is a quarterly number. So the applications awarded during the third quarter was at $6,169,000, and these are projects that our team worked closely with the folks in the department. Our first sustainability, it was our own Brian Befford, our sustainability manager, over the quarter, and then those departments write their components and facilitate the project once it's awarded. The first 3 quarters of fiscal year '24, projects that have been facilitated and awarded is over $13.6 million. So good return on investment on the work that is happening throughout the county to receive new funding. And this just identifies, right now we have 1 pending grant, pretty big one, working collaboratively with the state of Nevada. Our portion, if this is awarded, would be approximately $10 million. All right. I'm going to let Lauren introduce herself, and she will give you an update on all the great work that she has done in slightly more than a month to get this stuff going. So.
For the record, Lauren Beal, Grant and Community Program Analyst. I am here today to talk about the Washoe Opioid Abatement and Recovery Fund. The Washoe Opioid Abatement and Recovery Fund was established from the opioid litigation settlement dollars. We are expected to receive $41 million over the next 20 years. As of this time, we've received about $4.7 million, and we can expect to receive an additional $6 million by this time next year for a total of $10.7 million. So to get these dollars out into the community, we are going to be releasing a notice of funding opportunity next month. This will be a competitive grant award for a 2-year funding cycle, and those allocated funding will be eligible to receive up to 3 contract renewals if their programming is successful and is consistent with the community needs. We will also open additional funding cycle in 2026. Our timeline is we are moving as quick as possible, and we will be releasing the NOFO on May 15th. Applications will be accepted through June 30th. I will be hosting an application webinar on May 22nd to answer any and all questions people have about going through the application. Then we will evaluate and score, develop awards and agreements, and then come back to you all, hopefully on September 10th, to get your final approval of our best candidates so that we can start programming on October 1. So for evaluation and selection, we have developed a rubric that will look at making sure that they are evidence-based or informed, in alignment with the needs assessment priorities, and that the strategies and activities are eligible for use under both the One Nevada Agreement and the litigation settlement agreements. We'll have a panel of internal and external reviewers using this rubric to review and score the proposals, and again, we will come back to you all for that final approval of those awards. The funding priorities that were identified and approved in the needs assessment include comprehensive holistic treatment services for opioid use disorder for uninsured and underinsured Washoe County residents, initiation of medications for opioid use disorder, as well as care navigators in the emergency room, overdose prevention, outreach, and education, implementing child welfare best practices to support families who are impacted by opioid use disorder, and increasing our detoxification and short-term rehabilitation capacity. This is just a partial list of some of the activities that would be eligible underneath this funding.
All right. Well, great work, team. Wow, I'm so impressed. I will go to the board. Vice Chair Herman, do you have anything? Okay. Commissioner Andriola, Commissioner Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to thank Ms. Enfield for a great presentation, always very informative. So thank you for bringing us this information, and you and your team. Thank you.
I love the grant workshops. That is so cool, increasing capacity in our community. So please let us know how that's going and how we can support those efforts. And then once you do are sending out that promotion of the webinar for that opioid funding, if you could make sure we are included so we can get that out to the people in our life, yes, who really want to see that. And I know that this board really wants to see that money in the community. So thank you for working so quickly on that. So great work, team. Thank you. Okay, we will now move on to donations. And I'm sad to say that Commissioner Garcia is not here to read the donations into the record, so I will do it for expediency today. All of these donations are going to our Human Services Agency, really generous donations from our community for our homeless fund, for our Child Protective Services Fund, and our Senior Services Fund. So that is in a form of a motion, and I am looking for a second. Thank you, Commissioner Andriola. Motion and a second. And Madam Clerk, is there any public comment?
There is none on any of these items.
Okay, thank you very much. Any question on the motion? I'm seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. And that motion passes unanimously. We are now moving into the consent agenda, part of the agenda, and I'm looking to the board to see if there's any questions on consent. And if there is none, I am looking for a motion on consent. Looking to the board, Commissioner, yes, Vice Chair Herman. Is your microphone on?
Thank
Okay.
There it is. 10C2. And let's see, yeah,
10C2
and 10E1, and what was the other one? I guess that's the ones.
Do you want to?
10D2, just take them off the consent, or at least to have an explanation for all of these. Especially the one about the shooting range, because that's a big issue.
Okay, so you want 10C2 and 10E.
Okay, 10C2, 10D2.
There's no 10D2. There's a 10D1 and then there's a 10E1.
Okay, but the one that's the most important to me is the 10C2.
10C2, okay. And then what were the other ones?
I believe it was E1.
Okay.
And D2.
There is no D2.
I mean, C2. No C2?
There's a C2.
Okay,
So
C2.
10C2 and 10E1. Did you want?
And 10D2 is the shooting range one.
The shooting range is 10C2. There is no 10D2.
Oh, well.
So I just see two items you want to pull.
Whatever it is, it's the shooting range.
Okay.
Whatever one, because what information I had, that's what it was, so.
So you want 10C2 and 10E1?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Pulled from the consent motion. I am, so is that in the form of a motion, Madam Vice Chair?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I am looking for a second on that. Thank you, Commissioner Andriola. And Madam Clerk, is there any public comment on any of the items minus 10C2 and 10E1?
There is not.
Okay, so we have a motion by Vice Chair Herman and a second by Commissioner Andriola. Any questions on the motion? I'm seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Okay, oh, and then it should pop up on your screen there. Okay, now motion passes 4-0. So we will now move to item 10C2. And Vice Chair Herman, the shooting facility, what would you like to bring up?
I'd like a presentation on that.
Okay. Mr. Solera?
Yeah, we've got Community Service Department Director Eric Crump here to answer any questions, give a short presentation on this item.
Great, welcome.
Thank you. For the record, Eric Crump with Washington County's Community Services Department. So today we have in front of you an agreement to operate the day-to-day operations of the regional shooting facility. Historically, we have staffed that facility with 2 full-time staff. They recently retired, and we thought it was a good opportunity to go out to RFP to kind of see if the private sector or the nonprofit organizations were interested in operating. We had done this in the past, I believe, back in 2011, and there was no interest. So we went out to bid. We originally did not receive any bids. We held a meeting with a lot of the stakeholders, gathered some really good feedback, kind of made some adjustments to the RFP, and went back out to bid, and we received 1 proposal. So staff has been working with Nevada Firearms Academy. It's Scott and Michaela Catrone, who are here as well to answer any questions you might have. And we've been negotiating a contract. We're really excited for this. Historically, it's been really, really hard to recruit positions for that facility. So we've kind of managed it with a skeleton staff. It's very hard for staff to take vacations. Or if they're sick, oftentimes we have to close. So we haven't had the most consistent of operations. So we have worked, they currently operate and own an indoor range. So they're very familiar with the firearms. And so we're very excited. I think it'll provide a much more consistent operation to the regional shooting facility. And so with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Great, thank you so much, Vice Chair Herman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, and thank you for all your hard work, because this is important. We have needed a more efficient way of providing the service to the people.
Yes.
And in fact, we could sure use one on the west side of the hills too. So I really appreciate you finally getting something done, and I know it's been hard. I realize that. We're out there, right?
It has.
And yeah, nobody wants to spend their whole day out in the country except me.
Right.
So, okay.
Right. Yeah, I think they'll provide a much more consistent operation of the facility. They're already talking about increasing the open times. Right now, the county's only been able to keep it open 4 days a week. They're looking at it to increase those times. We styled this agreement after our golf course agreements. I think this is a really good space to see what the public sector can do and the private sector can do, and let the public sector kind of step back and let them do what they do best, and that's run businesses.
So I have a question.
Sure.
So this is kind of a combination of a private, not private, but a business / recreational, public type situation. Is that going to work? How is that going to work? I know you have the answer, so.
Yeah, so this is a great example of kind of a public-private venture. They're going to be handling the day-to-day operations, staffing the range, doing the maintenance of the range, taking reservations, collecting fees. The county will still be responsible for some of kind of the larger infrastructure. I don't think it'll generate enough revenue for them to kind of absorb that. I certainly can evaluate that. So the county will continue to pay utilities. The county will be responsible for maintaining the structure of the buildings and the roof to the tune of we anticipate about $18,000 annually. The county will continue to contribute. That's much less than what the county is providing right now. The net revenue or the net expenses, what the county is losing on an annual basis by operating, it's about north of $120,000. So the county will be saving approximately $100,000 in this.
So this will, what kind of a schedule are you going to have, as far as the public? What's the time frames that they'll be able to be there as
Sure. So pursuant to the agreement, they're actually responsible for providing a schedule and providing the fee schedule as well. So what they propose to fee on an annual basis for our review. They're required to take a survey of like ranges kind of across the West to make sure that they're in alignment with those. And it might be best if you want to hear from Scott. He is here. He can talk about how he plans to operate the range.
I would really like that.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman. Scott Catron for the record. I am the owner of Nevada Firearms Academy and Range, the CEO of Nevada Shooting Sports. Our intention, and I should say first off, I was there in 1980 for the ribbon cutting. My Webelos troop cut the ribbon. And so my father took me there. It was very important for me to continue to keep this legacy alive. We are primarily focusing on youth at this point in time. We've brought back out the Reno Rodeo youth, shot there last month, brought 20 shooters. They've been back in 6 years. Boy Scouts did 21 merit badges there 2 weeks ago. First time they've been back in 12 years. So we're opening up to these groups to help drive the youth into the facility. Immediately, our intentions are to open 7 days a week. Currently, it's 4. A couple things will happen with that. It'll allow us to give access to law enforcement that shoots there on days when we're traditionally closed, and we'll be able to run the public line on the side. So we'll have somebody there to watch the property, care for the facility while we have law enforcement or outside agencies that are there using it. So that stays consistent. We have more opportunity for the residents of the community to get out there and use the facility. So immediately speaking, we'll go from 4 to 7 days a week. We'll just have to watch that closely because there is some work that needs to be done downrange. So we'll have to have some days set aside where we can close to the public. But that's our immediate intention.
Is this a long contract or what's the arrangement?
Yeah, currently it's for a 5-year term with a 5-year renewal based on how performance.
All right, I'll be watching. Thank you.
Well, I love that we get to support a local small business while doing this agreement. So thank you, Commissioner Herman, for pulling that out and creating some attention around it. Commissioner Clark, I have you signed in.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got a few questions myself. It's been a challenge for the county to keep the facility staffed. Was it Mr. Cashman? Is that your last name?
Yeah, Catron.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear clearly. I'll just call you Scott if that's okay. I got that part. So if it's been a challenge for the county to have employees out there, how do you envision your management style differing and hiring enough folks to keep the doors open 7 days a week?
Yeah, great question. We currently employ 15 RSOs, range safety officers. That facility requires a range safety officer to be there to run it. Mm-hmm. The county only had 2 range safety officers, and that was where the problem lied. The ability to have people employed that hold those titles that may be doing something else in the county wasn't an option at the time. So I have a heavy staff that can run the facility and do currently run an indoor facility with pistol, rifle, and archery as well. So we're already established for that and ready to go with the team.
So you have the staff in place now?
I do currently at our...
That challenge will be, it won't be a challenge. You've already overcome that. And how many range masters do you have, or is that what you were talking about?
Yeah, so traditionally a range kind of designates one range master, and they're traditionally a chief range safety officer, which is myself. I have another chief range safety officer as well, and we kind of write the criteria to the facility, like what safety looks like, right? What ranges won't run if we're running other ranges that may have some sort of interference. That's the primary role, and then they kind of build those guidelines for the RSOs, and the RSOs can run and operate the facility. And that's the team we have in play.
So the range masters are the most senior persons, and they dictate the policy to the other folks that are there on the facility?
Correct. They will actually write policy as well.
So are the range master, one range master there at all times, or do they need to be there? How does that?
Currently,
I'm
there
just
is a
trying to
range master there at
understand.
all times. Yeah, that's me. It's not required. It's not necessary as long as they're operating under the direction of the RSO, as well as the operating procedure that the range has established, right? When you come out to shoot on the range as a group, you rent the facility and you follow the guidelines that are laid out for you. You bring your own range safety officer. So in many cases, we have no real play in what's happening. So if Washoe County SWAT is there, for example, this week, they're going to bring their own range safety officer, they're going to bring their own equipment, their own deal, and they'll be on a private bay training. So a lot of what we do won't be necessary for us to initially be hands-on. They'll operate. We'll just open the gate for them. The public line, where we're having somebody call it, where we call it cold, so people go down range and do safety pieces, that is RSO driven, and we're well prepared for that.
Sure, and I'm sure the sheriff's department, they know what they're doing, but I'm talking about for the general public. When the general public are using the facilities, county facilities, your operating county facility. I'd like to get a tour if I could sometime in the near future. And then, were you going to be selling anything out there? Are you going to sell ammunition? Are you going to sell guns? Is that part of the lease agreement?
Correct, yeah, we will do, we won't sell any weapons out there. We will provide rentals, and we'll sell them out of our FFL at our indoor facility. But we'll be able to really offer some really cool stuff in the community that people don't have access to. Gatling guns and things of that nature that could be rented and could be a lot of fun for
Flamethrowers?
Maybe not that one, but yeah, other stuff very similar.
Just asking.
Yeah, and so that's our plan currently. We will set up a pro shop and sell stuff for the weapons system so people can build and do things while they're out there.
So if they want to actually purchase firearm, they just go to your other facilities and carry out that transaction there?
Correct.
Okay, all right. And ammunition, you're going to be selling that?
We will be, yes,
Okay.
we will.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to be, I've been out there as a range master for the last year, and traditionally, the people that shoot out there that we find are long-range shooters, are hunters getting prepared for their seasonal hunt. Those gentlemen build their bullets.
Sure.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, build their bullets specifically, so they probably won't be buying what we have to offer, but there will be some people that we consider to be plinkers. They'll come out and shoot paper, and we'll offer that for them.
Sure. Yeah, I know my brother reloads. He was telling me about this bullets. He does it about $4 a piece. You know, those are, you don't buy those by the boxes, I guess. Right. Okay, and then year-round weather challenges, snow, rain. Is this year-round, or it'll be closed when you have inclement weather? Some people want to shoot in the snow. Do you allow that? Are you going to allow that?
It'll run in the same direction it ran when the county had it. That was when we have unhealthy air levels, we'll shut down. When we have impassable snow on the road, we'll shut down. But the plan is absolutely 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
Okay. Any other issues that might close out there? If you had brush fire out near there, is that you evacuate and be out of there? Is that the idea?
Yeah, and we've set up a couple in rekeying and doing some new stuff out there. We've given ourselves some extra access to get in and out of the facility should something bad like that happen. And that would be an opportunity. If we lost power, we would probably have to shut down. And that has been some power issues out there in the past that we've seen quite a bit.
Okay, very good. Thank you. That's the questions I have.
Thank you very much.
Great. Well, we're excited to work with you on this new venture, and thank you for your willingness to partner with the county. I am looking for, Madam Clerk, is there any public comment on this item? Thank you. I am looking for a motion. Vice Chair?
Make the motion.
Okay. Motion to approve from Vice Chair Herman. Looking for a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Clark. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. And that motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much. Congratulations. We are now moving on to item 10E1. And Commissioner Herman, you pulled this item.
10E1, okay. I don't know about that one, but see, this is my problem. May I give you this? Because this is the number I have, but this is the bill, and it was brought up today by public commenter, and so I just wanted to have an explanation on that. I don't know.
This
the
item
number.
is 10E1.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I
That's where
had
the
wrong
confusion
number
comes
on it.
in. Looks
Okay.
like you don't have the right number on this, but. Okay,
So-
10E1. What
Yeah.
would you like to bring up?
Just an answer to that public speaker that couldn't stay.
Okay.
Or they can get with me in person after the meeting. That'll be fine. I need an explanation for that public speaker.
DA Canderas, do you know what Vice Chair Herman is talking about?
Can you remind me of what the public speaker had requested?
It was Tracy, and she had something regarding a certain location that she didn't think was a legal one for voting.
According to the information that I have, all that is required by NRS 293.3561 is that the registrar of voters provides polling locations. There's really no other legal requirement for those. So I'm not sure
Okay.
what specifically, and she wasn't specific so that I can recall,
it
so
was
I'm not
in-
sure what she was asking.
Yeah, it was in the public comment, and so I promised her I'd say something.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, Commissioner Clark?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't remember what was said verbatim, and I don't always agree or believe everything that I hear in public comment, but as I remember the comment, and since there was only about 3 or 4 public commenters, maybe we could take a moment to review that and see what the exact questions were from this public commenter. But I believe it had something to do with a polling place being near a campaign office. I don't know if that's true, if it isn't true, but I think it takes, we should take a moment to review, take a 5-minute break, and maybe somebody back at the control
No, I
panel.
think we need to make a decision.
Okay, well.
We don't do this, just
Okay.
pull public comment and, you know,
Well,
I think we.
Hold on.
Okay.
Let me finish. There was a question about exactly what was said, and I was just trying to reveal that. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. I'm not here to argue with you. I don't remember verbatim what was said. Commissioner Herman heard something. I heard something. I'd like to address it before I vote on it. But if you don't want to do that, hold the vote. Do what you want to do.
I just need to know what the question is. I don't think it's appropriate to.
The question was, somebody has a campaign office near a polling, too close to a polling place. Is it a fact or is it not? That's all I'd like to know before I vote on something.
And DA, yes, Canderas.
I do think I can, I can probably, I think now that it's more specific, I understand what is being asked. It is I spoke with Commissioner Andriola during a break because she told me that she had not a polling office, but an office in Red Hawk, and I think that might be one of the places. I spoke with the commissioner at length regarding the nature of the office, the contents thereof, what would be happening during any elections, be it the early voting and general voting. And it's my opinion that based on the NRS 281A, which deals with the ethics laws, that there's no significant pecuniary interest that is invoked due to that office. It's my understanding that at least during election times, there's not going to be any signs, there won't be any political activity, which of course is against NRS. So if that's what you're asking, it is my advice that there is no conflict and it would be an ethical violation. It wouldn't have anything to do with the legality of the polling place itself.
Thank you, DA Edwards. Commissioner, or excuse me, Canderas. Commissioner Clark.
Thanks again. You know, I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm not picking sides. I just wanted more clarification about this. And if somebody thinks that's an issue, I think it's our duty to prove to them it isn't. That's how you solve these problems. If somebody comes up and makes an accusation or a statement that it isn't factual. Let's just, let's show them that the facts are, and then they can change their mind or feel however they want to feel about it. I think many times folks, if they feel they're being treated fairly and they don't win a particular point, I think they'll be more inclined to be calmer about it. So I'm not trying to pick on the commissioner here. I'm not siding with the other person. I just wanted to see what the facts are, and then that's what I'm interested in. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Madam Clerk, it looks like we have public comment.
We do. Valerie Fianaka.
Valerie Fianaka for the record. With all respect, Ms. Canderas, there is pecuniary interest. The C&Es just came out, and Red Hawk has donated in-kind $5,000 to Ms. Andriola, in addition to $5,000 cash to Ms. Andriola. So if they are going to hold a polling site there, there is pecuniary interest.
There's nobody else signed in.
Thank you. Looking to the board to see if there's any other questions on this item. I'm not seeing any, so I am looking for a motion. Vice Chair Herman? No? Okay. I move to acknowledge the receipt of the Registrar of Voters selection for early voting and Election Day polling places and schedule for the 2024 primary election as required by NRS 2933561-2B. Looking for a second. Thank you, Commissioner Andriola. Any questions on the motion? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
So that motion fails 2-2. This will be brought back at our next meeting to approve those locations. Just a real quick question for Mr. Solero. Is this a problem for our registrar, or can we, are we going to be looking at a next meeting? Will that be okay?
For the record, Dave Solero, Assistant County Manager. As I understand, we are in the process of printing ballots, sample ballots that include these locations on them. So if there's a concern with locations, that could be problematic. Now, the question I've got, and I don't know if Ms. Canderas can answer, is whether the board actually needs to approve these or whether they just are here to acknowledge the
Right.
locations.
And DA Canderas, can you opine on that?
Yes, it says that you must acknowledge them, which the motion failed on that. Was it that they need to approve that? And again, even assuming the people who voted in the negative, that you think there may be an ethical violation with Commissioner Andriola's either accepting or having a polling place there, that doesn't go to the legality of the polling place. The proper remedy for that is to file a report with the Ethics Commission. If in the abundance of caution, what I would ask is that the Commissioner Andriola then abstain from the vote, and that you again acknowledge the vote. These polling places they need to be approved, or there won't be voting. So
Yeah, this is a really irresponsible.
Issues.
Yes, vote by the board, and I am very discouraged and concerned about this. I would like to see us vote again on this and try to think with clearer heads. We've heard from the DA how that this is not a concern, and so just deciding that you have a problem with a commissioner and their office location, that is not appropriate. So Commissioner Clark, I have you signed in.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know if you said it'll be brought back at the next meeting and we'll approve it. Do you have a crystal ball? How do you know it will be approved the next time? Number one. Number two,
We have to bring it back. On tied votes, they must go back.
You didn't hear what I said, and you said it'll be approved then. How do you know for a fact it'll be approved then? So I find that offensive, that you're predicting the future. But let's move on and see if we can fix this problem. Is there any way we can take this particular polling place and move it to another location or take? I'm just asking, let me finish. Can I finish? For God's sakes. What are you, my mother? Every time I want to have a discussion and bring out some thoughts, you're going to think for me. I'm tired of it. You were elected by 1/5 of the county, and I was elected by 1/5 of the county. I don't interrupt you. You constantly interrupt me.
So, Commissioners, I think
I'm trying to talk to him, yeah, and I wanted to ask a question to the DA before you interrupted me.
So let's hear from the registrar of voters if the best course of action that she needs on this.
Considering our sample ballots and our ballots have already gone to print, this is going to cause a little bit of an issue, moving this one polling location. It also makes it so some of our voters, we are literally taking away one of the voting locations.
It's disenfranchisement of our voters.
Come this fall, we can absolutely take it out. It does not need to be a polling location for the general election, but for the primary right now, we already have things in print. In order to take this out would cause a lot of confusion and a lot of issues with our voters. So I'm asking you guys just to accept what we have at the moment. Come November, it will not be on there.
And a point of order, the item is stylized to acknowledge these polling locations, so it's not necessarily to approve or say that these are set in stone for the general, and I think that the registrar could take your comments here. Again, so I would ask this board to move on this, and then, like I said, if there's problems with the location of somebody's office, that's an issue for the Ethics Commission. That doesn't mean that there can't be a polling place, but with that said, I am informed that there are not going to be any signs, there are not going to be any indicia of an office, because that is also illegal under NRS. There's no campaigning near a polling place. So I would ask again that the board acknowledge the receipt of the registrar's list of early voting locations.
Madam Chair,
And yes, Commissioner Andriola.
since my name continues to get thrown around, I thought I would take this opportunity to go on the record. It is an office. There is absolutely no signs. There will be no signs. There will be no activity during any voting dates, either early voting or on June 11th. It's an office, and that is it. There is absolutely nothing there that has any recruitment or anything like that. So I just want to go on the record, which is why I believe I will defer to legal and Ms. Canderas, who shared and disclosed, not only with everyone here, but with myself, that there is no pecuniary interest. There is absolutely none. There will not be any activity during that time, and even with all due respect, there is absolutely nothing. It's an office. So I am going to go on record stating there will not be any activity in any way, shape, or form, anyone even in that office during that period of time. If that helps to ensure on the record that this is the case, period, because there is a violation, and I'm clear about that violation, and I uphold the law. I adhere to the regulations and the responsibility, both on the books, if you will, from a legal perspective, but also the high ethical standard that I take. So I am just going on the record a million times. If you want to give me sodium pentothal, I would ask that it be done by a trained professional. But I will definitely, even agree to that. It is not going to be used in any way, shape, or form for any political activity, period, during any type of election, during early voting or on June 11th. And again, it's an office. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Andriola. And Commissioner Clark, do you still have?
Yes, and I'm glad that Ms. Canderas was able to clarify some things, and I'm going to change my position based on what I've heard from the DA and based on what I heard from my fellow commissioner. I'll take her at her word that she is not going to be campaigning anytime there during early voting or the day of the vote, or just to make sure that this the ballots get printed in the proper time and we move forward with this. Again, when I talk about whatever I might talk about here, when it's brought to my attention, I want further clarification of it. Several people have talked about it now. The commissioner has said that she will not use it to political advantage during the campaign election cycle, so I'll take her at her word and I'll change my vote. So if we can bring it back. Thank you.
Okay.
Madam
Great.
Chair, may I ask for clarification, please?
Yes.
A few moments ago, you had, Ms. Canderas, you had recommended to abstain, and I'm happy to do that if you feel that that's appropriate.
I don't think you need to abstain. I was say that the importance of this item is that we need a majority of the elected members, so 3 people must approve and acknowledge the polling places for this item to pass.
Thank you for the clarification. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other commissioner comments on this item? Seeing none, I will make the motion again to acknowledge the receipt of the Registrar of Voters selection of early voting election day polling places and schedule for the 2024 primary election as required by NRS, as stated in the staff report. Looking for a second.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Clark. Any questions on the motion from the board? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Okay, the motion passes 3-1 with Vice Chair Herman in the negative. Thank you very much. We are now moving on to our block vote. Commissioner or Vice Chair Herman, do you have a block vote for us today?
I do, and if item 12 is the one I want to take out, I just want to make sure. No, that's okay. So it would be number 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, and 17, and that's a motion.
Thank you very much. Looking for a second on the block. Thank you, Commissioner Andriola. And Madam Chair, Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment on this item?
We do. On item 16, we have Farrah Downey.
Wonderful. Welcome.
For the record, Farrah Downey, it's nice to be here, and thank you for hearing me. One, I just want to say and give kudos to the district attorney for bringing people together when there's a lot of separation. I really appreciated that because that's a big deal. Okay, so I come to you today as the founder and CEO of the nonprofit organization Be Who You Needed, and we're predominantly based in housing. I have a fantastic board that is all in support and spirit today. What I want to just give you guys an update right before one of the block votes is we're here to talk about the Emergency Eviction Prevention Program of Nevada. And EPIN has been going successfully since February 1, 2021. And in that time frame up to date, we've intercepted over 1,300 households that have experienced some sort of at-risk situation that could have led to homelessness through eviction. So I just wanted to say thank you. I guess I wanted to be here today to give some gratitude before anything, to say thank you for making me feel at home, from everyone from the clerks to your grants department to communications to, I mean, everybody has just been so kind and welcoming because I see the forward motion that the county is making with and trying to prevent homelessness, and that I feel like I found a home with what we do because we're not really housing and we're not really homeless. So EPIN kind of fits in this weird space. So to be welcomed and to be seen is really, really important. So thank you for, again, just gratitude. And if anybody has any questions at the vote, then I'll answer them. But I just wanted to say thank you. So
Thank you for your great work.
Thank you.
There's nobody else signed in.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. With
Let me get
the motion on the block vote by Vice Chair Herman and a second by Commissioner Andriola, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. And that motion passes. Thank you very much. We will now move to item 13. Mr. Solero.
All right, good afternoon. Item number 13 is a discussion and initial direction to staff regarding potential bill draft requests for the 83rd session of the Nevada Legislature. And our Government Affairs Liaison, Cadence Matievich, is here to give you a little presentation.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. For the record, Cadence Matievich. I have the privilege of serving as a Government Affairs Liaison for Washoe County. And as Mr. Solero said, today looking to get initial direction from this board regarding our bill draft request for the upcoming legislative session. And from here on out, I will refer to BDRs. That's the acronym for bill draft requests. So you see there the process that we have outlined for development of bill draft requests for this legislative session. We're about midway through that process. Back in January, late December, early January of this year, we solicited from the various departments here at Washoe County ideas for bill draft requests for changes to Nevada revised statutes that would let them better accomplish the goals that this board has set forth and the operations of their departments. We have 3 items that are before you today for initial consideration there, and then also 2 items that have come forward through board discussions as well. And so, excuse me, Madam Chair, I'm feeling a little lightheaded later in the day than I thought. So at your direction, Madam Chair, I don't know if you would like to go through each of the items individually, or if you would like me to go through them. We do have representatives from some of the departments who had submitted those. So if you have specific questions on the items submitted by the departments, we can go through them individually, or I can go through all 5 of them, and then we can do questions after that, whatever is the preference of the board.
How about you go through all 5, Ms. Matievich? Sorry, I know that you probably want to get to lunch, but just so we can have some clarity, there was some local media on one of our BDRs that the coroner's office had, and I just feel like if dispelling myths and, making sure that it's clear why we're asking for these things.
Sure.
And then since we get to, right? Any thoughts that you have on, okay, so say the board gives direction on all 5 and we like them. There's one I have a concern about, but, perhaps the board likes all 5. How would we seek to find other folks to carry these bills for us? So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for setting that context. I should have started with that for those listening who may not be as familiar with this process. So Nevada Revised Statutes allocates BDRs to a number of different entities, local governments, legislators themselves. The Nevada Association of Counties is another entity that is allocated bill draft requests. Interim standing committees get them. And so while we are entitled to 2 by statute, we do have other avenues that we can pursue to seek putting these forward in the next legislative session. And part of my intent in bringing this here today is for that very purpose, that not necessarily, certainly if you want to select them today, you can. But our bill draft requests are due to the legislature, to the Legislative Council Bureau in September. And so I wanted to give some time. Commissioner Clark, I've heard you say time and time again, give us time to think about things and make some decisions before we're at the last moment. So part of that is intended with this discussion today. And so with that, Madam Chair, at your direction, I will go through them, and then as you have questions, I will do my best to answer them, and if we need representatives from the department to come forward, they can do that. So
you'll be back in July for final, after you're hearing some direction from us?
I believe so. I think
Okay.
it depends upon ultimately what your direction is today, whether
Okay.
or not there's a need to come back in July, but we've built that into the timeline to allow that, to see if in fact you do give direction today, maybe to seek sponsorship of these, that I can report back to you at that date if we've been able to secure sponsors. And if not, if then you would want to select one of these items, or if in that intervening time, there have been other items that have come up. You have a new behavioral health administrator who's hit the ground running and doing some great work. We may have some things there. There may be some things related to funding for capital projects that continue to evolve in the next couple of months. So again, just looking to give adequate time to do some solicitation if necessary, and then bring things back to the board in time to meet that deadline.
Great. I'm sorry. Continue on.
Thank you. So the first of the items that was brought forth by our comptroller, and it would be an amendment to Nevada Revised Statutes, Chapter 244, Section .225, to eliminate the requirement to publish in a newspaper quarterly statements of total amounts of receipts and expenditures of the prior 3 months and the total amount. So this is really a fiscal reporting that we do because we are required to by statute. I should clarify, in the staff report, we had indicated an expense reduction of approximately $100,000. After further clarification from the comptroller's office, I believe that's our entire expenditure for public notices, not all of which would be resolved with this item. We believe that many of them we do need to continue to publish. And so perhaps, well, not perhaps, indeed, the cost savings would likely be significantly less for just this one type of publication. So it would be an efficiency measure from a staff time perspective, but perhaps not as much in a direct fiscal expenditure reduction. The next item was brought forth by the medical examiner's office, and I believe that Dr. Knight and Mr. Norton from the medical examiner's office are here today to answer any questions that you have on this item, but really looking to provide clarity to which records of the medical examiner and a coroner's office are and are not considered public records. We believe that there's some additional clarity that is likely appropriate there. What those things are would be, what's ultimately included here at the direction of the board, and I imagine you'll have some conversation with Dr. Knight about that as well. And then similarly, and I should point out, this is noted in your staff report, the Nevada Constitution requires that legislative measures be only on one topic. That's more colloquially referred to as the single subject rule. And so while the item that I just discussed and this next item do both pertain to public records, I think from a matter of policy, separating them is important because they deal with such different sections of the law. And so this next one comes from the Registrar of Voters Office, and it would be amending Chapters 239 and 293 to establish that the records of voter signatures are not considered public records. As you consider that one, you may want to consider whether that would still allow for inspection of voter signatures in the registrar's office. I don't believe that the intent on this one is to prevent someone from coming in and looking at a signature for purposes of validating that a signature verification process was performed accurately, but perhaps more directly to protecting against identity theft or things of that nature if the registrar's office was required to just produce volumes of copies of voter signatures. So there may be some discussion that you want to have on that one as well, and I believe that your interim registrar is here to answer questions on that. And then the other two items that came forward, the first would be amending Chapter 482 to require that the Department of Motor Vehicles, in cooperation with Washoe County, design, prepare, and issue a special license plate for the support of programs benefiting the Truckee River. The statutes allow two ways that specialty license plates can be authorized. People can submit directly to the DMV for that, or it can be brought forth through an act of the legislature. And then finally, is a subject that Vice Chair Herman, you had brought forth as a potential item for a bill draft request, and that relates to the provisions of Chapter 268, which governs cities, and amending those provisions for annexations for cities located in a county whose population is less than 700,000. And Vice Chair Herman, you and I and some other members of the staff did have an opportunity to discuss this a little bit further after you had first raised the item, and we just wanted to get some additional information from you as we evaluated this for bringing forward today. And I certainly don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think through that discussion, we were able to identify that perhaps there aren't necessarily legislative changes that would be necessary, but that we do want to make sure that we are monitoring the activities of the cities to ensure that they are in fact in compliance with the existing provisions of Chapter 268, but wanted to place it on here just out of an abundance of caution to make sure that there wasn't anything that you had learned in the time since then or anything that you wanted to address. And so that item is on your list as well today, Madam Chair. And with that, I will stop talking and hopefully answer questions.
Wonderful, great summary. I have some thoughts, but I want to, of course, open it up to the board. Vice Chair Herman, I'll start with you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I just want to thank you very much for spending all that time with me and working that draft resolution.
Thank you.
Possibility, I mean, I add that word.
Thank you. And Commissioner Andriola.
I would, if it's okay, I would like to hear a little bit more about the second item that you listed from Dr. Knight in terms of some of the questions that have arisen specifically about the perception of bleeding into, First Amendment rights and public records, and where that line, may or may not be being interpreted correctly, but there has been some concerns that have been shared. I'm not sure if you're aware of them, but that is my summary of what I've seen. So I think helping to clarify that would be appreciated.
Great. Dr. Laura Knight, Chief Medical Examiner for the record, and thank you for the opportunity to speak publicly about this. I'll just give you a little history. I'll try to be very concise, but it's a little complex. But there is not a lot of clarity in our state, between our state law and our county code, regarding whether autopsy reports are public, confidential, or something else, or somewhere in between. And so, just as a general background, first of all, I also say I'm not a lawyer, and I'll defer to Ms. Canderas if I misspeak on any of the law. But Nevada, is a public records state. Mm-hmm. We have relied on an opinion from the Nevada Attorney General from the 1980s to keep autopsy reports more private or confidential in our state in the past. And using that dated opinion resulted in the Clark County Coroner's Office actually being sued over release of records, and then they subsequently appealed. The Nevada Supreme Court decision on that appeal is now what we are currently working under. And basically, when we have a request for an autopsy report that does not fall under the next of kin or someone that is specifically listed in the law, then we go to legal and ask, okay, under the Supreme Court decision, is there a significant public interest, because that's what the justices said, in releasing this autopsy report. And so that's where we're at. Our county code is in slight conflict with our state laws. We have an NRS statute in NRS 259, which is our coroner statute, that specifies that certain people can get the autopsy report, but that implies then that others are not eligible to get the autopsy report. So you can see where it's kind of complicated. There's not one clear law. And so what we have asked in drafting this BDR is that there be one unified approach, and it's very clear in law. It's in this one place. We're not looking to different opinions and places. And then we would also come and ask the commissioners to open the county code so that we can make it in compliance as well. But we felt that the state law was the bigger hurdle. Now, that's the history, and I want to be specific about what we're asking for. We're actually asking for more transparency. We're asking to be able to give out autopsy reports more often. And the reasons for that are many, but I feel that, there's two approaches to this. We could ask for the law to become more restrictive, and a reason for that might be to protect privacy interests, and I mean the privacy of families and the people who died, not the privacy of the government. We don't have any privacy, in my opinion. We're public. The other approach would be to be more transparent. And that runs the risk then, though, that sometimes families or next of kin may not want those things to be released. But if we have a law that says we have to, then it's very clear that we should, and we're not then open to liability for releasing records. And again, right now the process is ask legal. If it's not someone who's specified in law, and we'd like to get away from that. We don't want to be the arbiters of what is or isn't a public interest, a significant public interest. I would like there to be more transparency. And I have collaborated with the Clark County coroner on drafting this BDR so that we know that we are presenting a unified position to the legislature so that we're not arguing, about whether it should be one way or another. Does that answer questions?
Yes, and I really appreciate it. I did read the information, and it certainly appeared that there was more transparency, but also having consistency and clarity. And the first thing that came to mind, and even looking at this and now hearing from you, is the cost of always having to go get a legal opinion versus having a statute that drives that policy in place. So I think that there's a cost of, even though there maybe wasn't a fiscal note attached to this particular item, I think there is, if it does go through the legislature, I would be actually interested to see it be a fiscal savings. So it might be a note, which is required, but it would be a savings and allow legal to continue to offer the great work that they need to, and allow you to do the very difficult work that you and your team and staff have to do with consistency in terms of interpretation of how you release public records. So I appreciate you highlighting the transparency piece of your request. Thank you.
You're welcome. And may I comment on the fiscal? Is that all right, Madam Chair?
Yes, of course.
I agree absolutely that it will be a savings in time and effort, not only, as you mentioned, with legal, but also for us in the back and forth that we have with people. Because as you can imagine, after we have to tell someone no and give them the legal opinion, there's often a back and forth, particularly with our media. And I appreciate we operate under the law and we have to do what we want to do, but I would rather to be able to be more transparent and to be able to have that relationship with media where we're giving them the information that they're trying to report on, and that it's not this back and forth. That takes up a lot of our time and effort too. So I absolutely think it will be a savings and it will be an improvement if we can do this.
Thank you. And Commissioner Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Dr. Knight, for making a presentation to us. And I agree, I'm all about public records transparency. I think where this becomes a public record is the very fact that you, as a government entity, are doing work on the deceased, and that information that might be on the autopsy report, if that's the only issue that we're talking about here, that might be helpful. Somebody might see something on there that might prevent them from doing the same thing, or ingesting the same combination of things, or doing something that caused somebody to die, and that was part of the cause of their death that was determined by your office. They died because this happened, and maybe if somebody saw that, it may be a teaching moment for somebody else. So I think transparency is what we should be shooting for. And if the media wants to cover it, the media wants to cover it. If the people find it repulsive that the media covered it, maybe the folks won't buy that publication or subscribe to that publication. There's other sides of this. So you're doing your job, and your job is to report why something happened and share that with the public. So saving money and transparency, that's a winning combination as far as I'm concerned. So thank you.
Thank you. And I appreciate you bringing this, raising this to our attention. And I don't have any concerns with what you're asking to do, and I saw it as being more open and having clearer guidelines for the whole team. So good work on that. I will say to Ms. Matievich, I have a concern about the comptroller's request on NRS 24425 or 225. I don't want us to move away from supporting our local newspapers, and every dime I know matters, and I know that this is some extra staff time, but I have a concern with making that change. Perhaps other commissioners would like to see that still, but that's one thing I wanted to raise. I don't have any other concerns with the rest of the requests, and on the registrar's request on the signatures. This has come up a lot on the recall efforts that have been happening, and I've been emailed people's signatures, and it feels somewhat inappropriate. And so I like the idea of people coming into the office, examining what your staff have determined as a legal signature and having that accessibility, but just having these signatures out in the open when these are ways that we legally sign our documents. It's not a great feeling. So I do think that is a good addition, and then I'd love to see the county carry this license plate program, because I'd like to see us move to the front of the line. And also I think that folks are going to really be excited about supporting river activities and support our river. And so if it's designed well and it's a beautiful license plate, I think that we could really get some great momentum with that and create a wonderful program that perhaps our reinvestment committee can issue grants out to organizations, and the county can also do the work that we need to do on the river. So thank you for bringing that request to the board. That's really exciting to me. And then Commissioner Clark, I have you signed in again.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And I agree with you on publishing this certain information in the newspapers. I think that's a small amount of money in the grand scheme of things to help keep the newspapers afloat. And I think not everyone has access to internet, so there's a number of people that still subscribe to the paper and get the printed copy. So in this particular case, I think that I agree with the chairman on that issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking for other board comments or questions? I'm not seeing any. And Ms. Matievich, are you clear on kind of where the board stands on these issues?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Cadence Matievich for the record. I think out of an abundance of caution, I'd like to repeat back to you
Sure.
what I've heard.
Mhm.
And perhaps from that discussion might even help you craft a motion.
Great. Thank
and
you.
so what I heard from you is that you do not wish for me to pursue a BDR to eliminate the requirement to publish that financial information in the newspaper. We will take that one off of the table. That you are supportive from a policy standpoint on the revision to the statute pertaining to what is and is not a public record in the medical examiner coroner's office. You do approve of moving forward as a policy the change with the public record for the voter signatures, and that you are also supportive of the bill draft request for a license plate to support the Truckee River. And Madam Chair, if I heard you correctly, that one in particular you would like to see as a Washoe County BDR. And I would ask for clarification or direction on the other two, whether or not you specifically want those as county BDRs, or if you would like to provide direction to me that over the course of the next 2 months or so to see if there is perhaps another sponsor that would be willing to take one or both of those, one or either of those. and then I can come back to you and report back on those. And that likely at that time perhaps is when you might want to make the final decision as to whether or not the license plate item would be one of the county's BDRs. And Commissioner Herman, if I heard you correctly, we're satisfied on the annexation piece for right now.
Okay, I thought that was a great summary. I look to you, and perhaps I want to hear from the board as well, but on your recommendation of, would it be best if NACO took these public record request bills, or would it be best if we brought them to the legislature or whoever? I mean, there's so many other senators and assembly people who have a lot of BDRs that perhaps they want to carry them. I'd like to potentially keep one open if we do have a behavioral health bill that we need to run last minute, but that's kind of where I'm sitting right now, looking to the board to see if there's any differing opinions. Commissioner Andriola?
I'm not sure that I have a differing opinion, but I do think that the fact that Dr. Knight, shared that she's working with Clark County as an example, that there may be, maybe we get half of something. There's all that juggling going on with BDRs, and certainly have shared in that excitement myself at times in my past. So I would support essentially the summary that you just explained in terms of, I know there's 3, you're looking for 2, and now hearing from the chair of maybe keeping 1. I think that there's time that you had opened up in your presentation that will afford maybe coming back and saying, I've found that there's an opportunity that someone can carry this or carry that. The same thing with the signatures. Certainly the ROV, every jurisdiction, all 17 jurisdictions, I think that's also maybe a NACO opportunity as well. So I think the exploration is what I'm suggesting be supported so that we don't narrow down right at this moment exactly, given that there is an opportunity for additional discussions for others that may want to carry the bill. But I will share that the the revision to statutes on the clarification of public records for the coroner's office is a priority, given the fact that Dr. Knight confirmed not only the transparency, which we all agree is important, but also the potential cost savings is important as well. So for me, that is a priority. So if someone else can't carry it, that would be something I'd certainly want to look at focusing on.
Great. Any other board comments on this item? Madam Clerk, is there any public comment on this item?
There is none.
Okay. Well, Commissioner Andriola, is that in the form of a motion?
You bet.
Okay. I'm looking for a second from the board.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Clark. Any questions on the motion? I'm seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. And that motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much. And I'm not trying to be hard on the comptroller's office, by the way. I think it's awesome that they bring cost savings and efficiencies to this board, and we get to, have the fun job of making the policy around it. So I do want to make sure we don't make staff think, oh, I can't bring a new idea. Certainly, we want to look at all of those options. So thank you, Ms. Matievich. Okay. With that, we will move into our public hearings. I will open the public hearing, and I look to Madam Clerk to read into the record item 18.
This will be Bill number 1911, an ordinance amending Washoe County Code, Chapter 65, Safety and Disaster Services by repealing the definition of division, by repealing sections related to the county risk manager and transferring the former risk manager's duties to the Risk Management Division of the Comptroller's Department, by amending provisions to expand the Risk Management Division's authority to settle claims related to damage and repair of county property with no related third-party claims from $1,000 to $2,500, expand the Risk Management Division's authority to settle any claim, suit for damages from amounts less than $10,000 to amounts up to $25,000, expand the county manager's authority to settle any claim or suit for damages from the amounts between $10,000 but less than $25,000 to amounts greater than $25,000 but no more than $150,000. Expand the Board of County Commissioners' sole authority to settle any claim or suit for damages from $25,000 or greater to $150,000 or greater, and by revising provisions related to county safety program, the county safety officer, posting of safety notices, reporting requirements for occupationally related injury or illness, reporting requirements in the event of a fatality or catastrophic event, reporting requirements by officers, employees, volunteers, and department heads following an accident, incident, or injury, written documentation of accidents and incidents, investigation and evaluation of accidents and incidents involving county officers, employees, or volunteers, and the safety committee's review of such investigations, and by amending provisions related to the safety committee's powers and duties, membership, terms of office, and meeting schedule, and all matters necessarily connected thereto.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That was a mouthful. Was there any public comment on this item?
There is not.
Okay, thank you. We opened this ordinance at our last meeting, but I looked to the board to see if folks want a report from the staff on this item. I'm not seeing that anyone does. So at this point, we just need a board member to move to introduce the item.
Madam Chair, I'll move to introduce Bill number 1911 as presented.
Thank you very much. And we will see this on May 14th. And we will move to the next item, item 19. And I move to Madam Clerk again. Thank you.
Okay. This will be ordinance number 1717 if passed, an ordinance pursuant to Nevada Revised Statutes 278.0201 through 278.0207, approving a development agreement between Washoe County and North Pyramid Investors, LLC, for Blue Oaks, a residential subdivision. Tentative subdivision map, case number WTM 19-003. The purpose of the development agreement is to extend the deadline for recording the first final map from January 7th, 2024 to January 7th, 2026, and to adopt amended conditions of approval, WAC 24-0001. The project is located along Campo Rico Lane, east of Pyramid Highway. The project encompasses a total of approximately 9.88 acres, and the total number of residential lots allowed by the approved tentative map is 10. The parcel is located within the Spanish Springs planning area in Washoe County Commission District Number 4, APN 534-0600-23. It was formerly Bill number 1906.
Thank you. We last saw this and introduced this on March 19th, but I'm looking to the board to see if folks would like a staff presentation on this item. I'm not seeing that anyone does. And Madam Clerk, is there any public comment on this item?
There's none.
Okay. With that, is there any commissioner questions on this item? Or if not, then I am looking for someone to make a motion on the second reading.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'll make a motion for the second reading for item Bill number 1717 that encompasses an extension as presented.
Thank you very much, and I will second that. Any questions on that motion from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay.
Commissioner Clark, I need your vote. There we go.
And that motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much. Now we will move to our final public comment. Madam Clerk.
Looks like nobody is signed in.
Okay. With that, we will now move to item 21, Mr. Solero.
Item 21 are Commissioners, County Managers' announcements, reports, and updates to include boards and commissions, updates, requests for information, and topics for future agendas, and I have nothing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I know the Vice Chair had some Commissioner comments from earlier, so would you like to start, Madam Vice Chair?
Yeah. So, the reason I gave earlier was because I feel bad for the folks that are employees and for the public, the public that wants to present. And so I hate tying up their day. And so since we had gone so long at the beginning of the meeting, I thought, you know, if I give up that, if we just could move that when we have that situation, maybe move the comments of the commissioners, so those people can get back to work and well, get back to work. So that's was my thought at the time. But anyhow, that was my major thought there. I don't think one day goes by when I don't get 2 or 3 people calling about them trying to get a permit for something, and it just goes on and on and on and on and drags on forever for them. Costs money to do that. They end up hiring helpers like attorneys and things like that. We've got to make it a lot smoother process, and I don't mean by computers. I mean that they need attention from a human being standing there in front of them, not a virtual one. And so I think we owe the public a little bit more attention and helping them get their processes done in a timely manner. So, like I say, it's not just one person or anything like that. It's a constantly I'm getting calls from every district. And so I just would suggest that we work on that very hard. Maybe get some of the folks that are trying to do it on a telephone from home or on a computer, get them back in the office and get them working, because this is really not working for the folks out there that need to get their projects done. They need to get their house built before winter, or their garage built, or their barn for their horses built. Everything is just dragged out and out and out. It's like there's a concerted effort. Well, they think it's a concerted effort against them. I mean, that's truly the thing. Just like with the horse thing, the equine people, that they're problems, and it's just not right. It's not a way to do business at our county. So I think that's all I have to say. Thank you.
And Commissioner or Vice Chair Herman, I like the idea of, I think that there's an opportunity with the future of work that's being done through HR and all of these different departments. I think there's probably an opportunity for staff to present to the board about how quickly we get back to phone calls. You know, what are the hours of, planner of the day? When I was a planner, we used to have that. I don't even know if that exists, but just okay, great. And so any of those kind of, performance measures, and how are we meeting them? Because I had a question for Manager Brown on the same issue. And then when he got back to me saying, we have a requirement that phone calls are met in this amount of time, or whatever the case is, I forgot the details, but he did send me information on that. And I think it would be good for the board to see that, because there's always 2 sides to every story. And I think it'd be important for the staff to share what they've been doing, and if there's any support that the commission could give them on that issue. I don't think your microphone is on.
And in the private sector, handled business the way some of the people in this county treat the citizens, they would be out of business. Let me just put that in there, because it really needs some attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Andriola, do you have anything? And Commissioner Clark?
Silence.
Okay. With that, thank you everyone for a great meeting. We are adjourned.
There's still some